Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Project Infinite podcast, the podcast covering the infinite and ever-expanding multiverse of fandom, from movies, comics, TV shows, video games. We got you covered. I'm Rob. I'm here, as always, with Court. Court, what's going on, man?
I'm doing great.
Good.
I'm on a House of the Dragon high right now, and I'm ready to...
That's really convenient, because that's what we're talking about this episode.
Oh, we're not talking about iRobot with Will Smith.
Not this week.
Okay.
Maybe another week. So, yeah, we are going to talk about the HBO... Super show.
Yep.
House of the Dragon, the successor, but also prequel to Game of Thrones. It had a lot of legwork to do.
Yeah, it did, and I think it succeeded.
I also think it succeeded, and we'll talk about that and so much more. But first, we have a bunch of news to run through. The first of which came out last week, like the day after we recorded.
Right.
And that is that DC has found their Kevin Feige, I guess, for lack of a better word. We have been this has been kind of circulating for quite some time about them looking for like a figurehead to kind of spearhead the DC side of the filming and TV and everything, and they've rebranded. It's not the DC Extended Universe any longer. It's simply DC Studios, and it is being helmed by none other than James Gunn.
Wonderful.
Great
Absolutely
choice.
Wonderful. I mean, what this man understands how to do is kind of how to helm an entire universe, in the fact that, you know, what personifies that is your people, is your characters. And I think if you put that at the forefront, that's what's going to make this whole venture incredible. I mean, they fought one of the first battles, and that's getting Henry Cavill back. So now that you have some footing, I think sky's the limit for them. And this is the first time, I mean, we said it last week during Black Adam, this is the first time I actually feel like there's footing in years. I haven't felt this way.
Yep, and, you know, it didn't take long for things to kind of start coming out, and the first thing of which is that the long-rumored Green Lantern we weren't sure what it was, whether it was a show, whether it was a movie, who it was about. That's been totally kind of like reworked, rebranded, and it's going to be a Green Lantern show focused on Jon Stewart, which I think, again, is a very positive thing and a good direction. Jon Stewart, I know for people our age, is the definitive Green Lantern. So
yeah, much like how Wally West for me was the first Flash that I knew, Jon Stewart, I believe in my memory, is the first Green Lantern that I knew from Justice League Unlimited. So great choice. Who's going to play him? I don't have anybody in my head that can play him.
No.
Not off the top of my head. I think you probably you go normal superhero, early 30s, you know. What is it, construction worker for Jon Stewart that joins the military, whatever it may be. I think they got the right hands, and what this feels like is that this universe is going to be kind of, you know, together and shared now. I think leading in, I don't know if I'm jumping the gun on any of the news, but to the Stargirl point of it, I think that this does feel like they're trying to get all of those, whatever the other shows is, like specifically anything on CW, you know, for lack of a better term, acts, so they can kind of get into the DC universe at large.
Yeah, I agree. And that's a perfect sublet into the news that Stargirl Season 3 will be its final season. You know, I'm not surprised considering the direction that all the other CW shows have gone. I'm a little bummed because I think that show's really great, but I get it. You know, like you said, they're trying to really get these shows under wraps and get them finished off so that they can either use the characters in a new thing or another movie or something like that. It means Superman and Lois is the last show standing, and I don't expect that to continue beyond probably a third season is what I would guess.
Yeah, because are they in season 3 right now? Or they're shooting season 3 right now. Yeah, like you said, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the route they go. What I think they're going to try to do is not shy away from the idea of the multiverse, and then you can still have those characters in your back pocket, much like how Crisis on Infinite Earths did. So I'm not going to be surprised if Tyler Hoechlin ever crosses paths with Henry Cavill. I think that would be incredible, like a sight to see if that's the case, because I think a lot of people do love what Tyler Hoechlin has brought to the table as Superman. A lot of yearning that we didn't get. Some people think we didn't get from Henry Cavill's Superman, and this reinvigorated enthusiasm that Henry Cavill and DC, the DCU or the DCU now kind of has for that character again. And I mean, I've said it before. I just don't think whatever ideas they had about Superman, why it couldn't work. I just never understood that. I mean, any time is now to get Superman off the ground and make him the Man of Tomorrow, or the Man of Steel, or the Paragon of Hope that you're looking for. I think this is perfect timing. And Henry Cavill, I mean, The Witcher is something where he dedicated his full out, utmost attention to, and you saw in kind of what he presented to that character. So if you have all that lore you have from Superman and you just give him that and say, you know what, let's do what comic Superman does, I think it's a recipe for success.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think they're making a lot of smart decisions. Yeah. I think James Gunn is the right person to kind of be the spearhead for this kind of thing. And, he said, I think it was a while back, he said he had no interest in being like a Kevin Feige type of figure, but clearly he sees potential in something as it relates to these DC characters, that he's willing to kind of take on that Kevin Feige load. Maybe not as big as Kevin Feige yet, but you could
get there. I mean, I've said before, like, the DC universe itself, they don't have to worry about rights or different characters being elsewhere. They have the rights, and a lot of the first come from DC. What was it? Fawcett Comics first that turned into DC. Like, they have, and then on top of that, they have the holy trinity of superheroes. Like, they have Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman under their belt, and they have a litany of characters that they can do anything with. This is like the last piece of the puzzle, is the actual movie universe, is what needs to, be definitive. And if it's not connected, so be it. But this all tells me that this is about to all be connected to itself. And I think you pull over what James Gunn learned with collaborating with some of those other artists, talking about like Infinity War and Endgame, with Kevin Feige as well as the spearhead, and then he takes all those lessons and brings those over to DC. But I can't wait. I'm excited to see. Some of those DC stories are incredible, man. Like, I was thinking about like some of the stories they can tackle with like a full universe, like. If you think Infinity War is like an insane event, like, some of the DC events are just absolutely bonkers. Superman sings to save the universe, the multiverse that one time. But yeah, there's some incredible stories to be had. Now the Batman question. I think, listen, look, if they're able to get Henry Cavill back, which I never in a billion years, I thought he was done. I thought they were going to recast him. I never thought he would even think about stepping foot or putting on that suit again. I think there's a genuine possibility that Ben Affleck can come back and be the main universe Batman again. And then they call him in, they say, look, sorry about the Michael Keaton thing. We shouldn't have done that. We should have just trusted in you and maybe treated you a little better, or gave you a little bit, supported you a little bit more, because I know it was a taxing experience he had playing Batman. And we're going to give you the utmost support. Henry's back. Gal Gadot's still here. We got Jason Momoa still here. New Flash is probably going to come up. Like, we're going to get a Green Lantern. Like, the universe itself is coming to fruition, but we can't do that without Batman. So I would not be surprised within the next 6 months if Ben Affleck's back and he gets his own solo movie himself. Yeah,
I could see that. I could also see them just doing something different with the character. Again, like we talked about last week, just letting kind of Matt Reeves play in his own little sandbox and have a different Batman just be running around with the Justice League. I think that's more than okay. I think you can afford to do that.
Yeah.
And I think I don't think it would be the worst thing in the world to get a younger Batman that's younger than Ben Affleck and have a newer kind of, not a newer Batman, but more like, if Robert Pattinson's like the Year One-esque Batman, I would want to see like a Batman, like an Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, Arkham Knight-esque Batman who's like peak of his powers, like he's in the swing of things, and just let him do that. I think that's really kind of the only type of Batman we've not ever seen on screen, to be honest with you.
What's the closest that we've gotten is probably
Dark Knight?
Maybe The Dark Knight, but still, those movies were different. That's more of like a case study versus like an actual character study. So I feel for me that
because Dark Knight Rises, he's retired.
Probably, it's got to be Keaton, 89 Keaton, right? Or not 89 Keaton, 93 Keaton, right? It's got to be Batman Returns is probably the most in-universe lived Batman that's not an old man. That's got to be...
That's too long. That's too long to have a Batman like that.
Maybe Clooney. Maybe Clooney. And then Keaton, and then... what's his name? Val Kilmer took over from, like, Val Kilmer, I think, is supposed to be an extension of Keaton's.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's either Clooney or Keaton in 93. So I'd like to see,
like, that kind of Batman, like on screen.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Look, this is where...
Pattinson's gonna get there.
Yeah, but again, that's its own, like, art house version of those characters. You know what I want to feel? Like, I want to feel as if I were to, like, turn on, like, this is what I think DC has in its corner. They have this ability where it's like you can turn on any form of, like, media. Like, even Titans does it, where that universe feels like a Superman, a Batman live in there, and that they're in the peak. They're not old. Maybe Titans kind of screwed themselves by doing by casting our boy that we might mention in a little bit, but, like, just think about, what do I got? Think about Young Justice. Like, whenever I pick up in Young Justice, it's like, that's how the Justice League should feel. Like, they're an already formed group with memberships and, litanies of teams. Like, I think we're getting there. I mean, the inclusion of the JSA and
I was just going to say, I think the JSA was a great example of that. Where, like, here they are. They've been a thing for a while, and here they are, doing a mission. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I know people, I don't want to talk too much about Black Adam and relitigate that, but I know a lot of people were like, well, what is this team? And the way I interpreted it was like, Hawkman's the point man of the JSA.
He's Cyclops.
And they have this roster of people to, like, choose from. And depending on who's available and what the mission is, he basically picked those three.
Right.
That's not the only people in the JSA. I just think those are the three people that Hawkman was like, I'm taking them. They're the ones that are available and that can help, and that's who's coming.
Right. Because, I mean, I don't want to go down this JSA rabbit hole, but I think that's the point about this. What I'm trying to say is, like, this DC universe is incredibly rich. Like, go pick up some DC comics. Like, they have so many avenues. Like, their stories are emotional, they're grand in scale, like, they genuinely feel like epics. That's what, like, Kate, you talk about, like, Kingdom Come, any of the Crisis, like the Dark Metal event, like, all those things feel like genuine modern epics. And I think that this DC universe can get there, and I think HBO Max is going to be a wonderful venture to try to achieve that as well, which might lead into the next piece of news.
I was going to sublet to the Henry Cavill thing, to be honest.
Oh, man, I jumped the gun. I jumped the James Gunn.
Since you mentioned it, the big news coming out of, for at least Henry Cavill's career, is not only is he returning as Superman, but he's also departing The Witcher after season 3. He had filmed season 3, so season 3 is done. That'll be coming out next year sometime, and season 4 will not star Henry Cavill. Geralt will return, and will be being played by Liam Hemsworth.
Hunger Games own Liam Hemsworth.
Yeah.
Is he got a brother or something?
I heard he's got a brother.
Oh yeah. Oh, Luke. Yeah.
Yes, Luke Hemsworth from Thor.
Luke Hemsworth from Thor. Yeah.
No other brothers.
No other brothers.
But man, this is quite a
go on.
Quite a thing.
You're the Witcher guy here.
No, I mean, I understand it. First of all, obviously Henry Cavill is taking on additional commitments as Superman, and I mean, there has been kind of stories coming out of the last, over the last year about how, I mean, we've talked about on the show before about how passionate Henry Cavill is for The Witcher and his knowledge of the lore, and he's played the games.
He's a nerd, man.
He's read the books, and a lot of the stories that have come out about this show and in the past year have been about the writing staff not being particularly caring about the lore of the universe and kind of either wanting to do their own thing or not really respecting the lore. And I do feel like that maybe made it easier for him to kind of walk away because he felt maybe the show possibly was heading in a direction that he didn't agree with or didn't quite like. So, and I know he's probably getting paid very handsomely to come back as Superman.
I genuinely think that whatever deal he signed with Warner Brothers was not only lucrative. Like, I think Warner Brothers, like, they reaped what they saw because they probably, like, just looked at Henry Cavill, because listen, that's a good looking guy. They probably looked at Henry Cavill and they're like, what did we do? Why would we ever give him up as Superman? And I just think because he's been doing a lot of interviews, he's been around, Zack Snyder gave his praise and said, I can't wait to work with you again. Like, I genuinely think whatever this Superman thing he's about to get into is about to be, like, massive. Like, I think he's going to get litany of movies, appearances everywhere, and that he's going to be what Robert Downey Jr. Rightfully so, he's going to be what Robert Downey Jr. was to the MCU. Yeah,
I totally agree. And like I said, it's a bummer for Netflix. It's a bummer for the fans of that show. Just being 100% honest, I've yet to be overly impressed with Liam Hemsworth as an actor.
You didn't watch Hunger Games,
but
he was hungry in that.
I'm willing to give him a chance.
Yeah.
I'm going to stick with the show, obviously, through however long it goes. I do feel like this potentially is the writing on the wall that the 4th season may be the final season.
Yeah.
I know the showrunners had plans for like 6 or 7. But first of all, no Netflix show really ever goes that far.
Yeah, that's
and
unheard of.
Second of all, it does, regardless of who you get to replace a lead, it's always tough recasting a lead, 3 seasons into your show.
Yeah.
And just expect people not to notice or not to be affected by it.
Right.
Because, again, Henry Cavill was a student of this series and he understood the character. Best of luck to Liam Hemsworth, obviously. Hopefully he kind of starts doing some digging and can kind of find a grip on that character, because it is a very rich character and a very rich world that I'm excited to see, and I expect those season 3 numbers to be incredibly high, considering it'll be the last time that we see Henry Cavill as Geralt, but he's got bigger and better things planned.
Yeah, it feels like the Andrew Garfieldication of Henry Cavill is about to happen.
Yeah, I totally agree. A little bit more DC stuff. So Sandman has been renewed.
Yes. Thank the gods.
After a tumultuous last 24 hours of fake news running around, and Neil Gaiman had to come out and be like, no, it hasn't been canceled.
I, for one, was stressed last night. I said, how could they do this to us?
So it's been officially renewed for season 2, and I think that's great.
Yes.
We talked about the show on this podcast. We did a whole episode on it. It's really great.
Yes.
The lore is really great.
Yes.
The world is really great. The characters are just rich and tremendous, and I'm so excited to see more of this.
I'm excited to see more Morpheus.
Yeah, definitely more Morpheus.
Yep, gotcha.
I don't really have anything else to say about it. I think it's great. And then a little bit of other DC news. So Kristen Milotti has been cast as Sophia Falcone in the Penguin spinoff series for the Matt Reeves Batman-verse.
Yep. The Batverse.
The Pattinson-averse.
The Patton Batverse.
So that's cool.
Yeah.
I think one of the strongest points of that Batman film was the dynamic between Falcone and Penguin. Yep. So definitely seems like his daughter could be coming to kind of get at the Penguin and come for the throne, if you will. And I think that's probably where that's headed. It's going to be a big Gotham turf war situation with the Penguin probably staving off several hungry suitors for the crime throne of Gotham.
Right. You think that Robert Pattinson's showing up in any of these?
Nah.
I do think as long as these shows go for, and I do think that they're going to introduce a version of Robin. Maybe they wait till the 3rd one to introduce Robin, but I just feel like the fact that we haven't seen Dick Grayson since, 1997 with Chris O'Donnell.
If you don't count Titans.
Right, yeah, not counting Titans. Like we haven't seen a Robin in a Batman movie for so long, and we've had how many Batman movies since then that I genuinely do think that we're going to see a version of Robin. Like I wouldn't be surprised if those characters start showing up. Like I wouldn't be surprised if Jeffrey Wright's Jim Gordon, his daughter shows up for something. Like those characters start to reveal themselves as time goes on in those shows, and then once the movies get back, this HBO Max thing is like Disney Plus now. They all genuinely feel connected to each other.
Yeah, I think what you want to do with Pattinson's Batman is he has this kind of aura around him, this kind of presence that feels very special, and I think you want to keep that as much as possible and not overexpose him, so that anytime he shows up as Batman, it feels special.
Right.
So I wouldn't expect him in any of these series, but I'm looking forward to all these. We talked a couple weeks ago about all the stuff that Matt Reeves is apparently planning for films and shows and characters and whatnot. So I'm excited to see what that looks like. So we got a reveal date for The Last of Us.
Yes.
On HBO Max. I think I hit this right on the head. By the way, I think I did.
I think you said January.
I think I did say January, and January it is. So January 15th of 2023. Yes, that's next year. Will be the beginning of the 9-episode first season of The Last of Us, led by Bella Ramsey and Pedro Pascal. And like I said, that's exactly how I felt it was going to go. House of the Dragon ended last week, and we're going to give it like 2 months.
Yeah, it's award season 2, so HBO's probably going to try to push, White Lotus is out right now. They're probably going to try to push, those shows that were, super popular come like, bigger award season. There's, like you said, a little bit of breath in between, because that's a lot of show to digest. Like Euphoria had a little bit of time before House of the Dragon was next after that, I think. Mm-hmm. So there was a little bit of time in between those, and then they're going to give a little bit of time, and then we're going to get into The Last of Us, which I think will own Sundays.
Yeah, Is that a Sunday, January 15th?
Yeah, I believe so. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's a Sunday night.
It is indeed. Yeah. So they're putting it in there in that Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, Euphoria time slot, which tells you all you need to know.
Who was the grandfather of all this? Watchmen was. Mm-hmm. Watchmen was Watchmen built the sacred text. They were there when it was written.
It tells you all you need to know about how HBO feels about the show to put it in that coveted Sunday night time slot.
Yeah.
I
said it about the Batman. Said it about there's Top Gun. This show's got something that I just can't. It's got something behind it. Yeah. There's genuine energy behind the show, and you can tell there's a lot of care behind this. So I think we talked about it when we talked about the show. The lore is so incredible, and it's not just the lore itself, but it's the case study and it's the dissection of human nature in the end of the world, and kind of what choices we make, and that there's no such thing as good and evil. Like I know Bill talks about that line always sticks with me. He's like, I can kill a pack of clickers, I can kill some runners, but humans are the true people that scare me. That's the scariest part, and I think getting Pedro Pascal to that scale is what kind of is going to bring that home. And
even comparing it within genre to The Walking Dead, right, which I know it's probably going to draw a lot of comps to. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think the height of The Walking Dead arguably is when there's human on human conflict, right. when you talk about the season 2 to 4 prison arc, when it's Rick and company against the governor. The governor is one of the most revered TV villains of the 21st century, really. So,
then you go to the big one from The Walking Dead is the death of who do you got? Steven Yeun's character,
Glenn. Yep.
Glenn. Like that was like one of the first exposures for me of like the power of how social media itself as a whole consumes these projects. Like I'll never forget when that happened. That was the only thing anybody was talking about for weeks upon weeks, and it was like if you spoiled it, you were getting threatened of being ostracized by your friends. Like it was such a crazy thing that happened. So that show is such this hype, but there's something that's just inherently raw about this Last of Us show. And I mean, I think we kind of talked about before, like, where do we think this is how long do we think into The Last of Us this was gonna take? And
now we know it's 9 episodes, so basically 9 hours of TV essentially. I'm assuming they're gonna be an hour-ish.
Yeah. What do you think they're gonna get after?
So I mean, from the trailer, we already know at least how far it's going to go. We know we're going to get to Joel and Ellie's kind of confrontation in the cabin after they reunite with Uncle Tommy. Spoilers, by the way, for The Last of Us.
Uncle Tommy played by Diego Luna, too, or
Gabriel Luna.
Gabriel Luna, yes.
Yeah. So we know it's at least going that far, unless they decide to make some kind of like cup switchy choices and move that scene earlier in the story.
Right. Well, I told you so. I think this is how it's going to go. So I think this show is going to be, because think about how you tell stories, and some movies and TV shows have suffered by the length of which games are played. So I said, what if it's like an Arrow situation, not as like definitive in the plot of how integral it is to talk about flashbacks, but what if this whole cusp, like we don't see, I think we're going to get dropped into the world as it is, not the world as it was. So I think the cusp of when he's talking about you're treading on mighty thin ice and you don't know what loss is, like I think when that happens, then we're going to get thrown back to what actually happened that night with his daughter and how she died, and why Ellie is so important, like why he just can't, he can't give his all to Ellie, and then he does give his all to Ellie. I think we're going to get there, but I think it's going to be told slightly non-linearly in that sense of we're going to kind of bounce around, and then like it's going to hit the beats for the beats that it needs to. Like the thing in the past is going to hit the thing in the future. Somebody made the great point, like Henry and Sam, Bill, Marlene, like all these characters are going to get a little bit more backstory, of the past and like the days that the world ended. Like all those things are going to be kind of come out. So
yeah, I would love that personally. I think I would love to get kind of more of these in-depth in-depth character studies on these side characters that when you encounter them in the game, you really only encounter them for their one little section and then they're gone. So, I would love to get more backstory on Tess, more and how her and Joel got together. I would love to have more backstory on Bill and kind of how he became this wreck. I mean, you have Nick Offerman, for Christ's sake. You might as well use him.
Right.
More backstory on Henry and Sam and how because they mentioned being with a different group. I'd love to see that group kind of in action and how they ended up on their own. Like there's a lot of room you can work with when you're adapting this to TV that doesn't necessarily have to focus on Joel and Ellie the entire time.
Right, and we know of which the grandeur that HBO Max operates, and that's really cool because even thinking about the DC stuff, like HBO Max is like notorious for pumping out these shows that feel so absolutely grand and like have these infinite budgets, and I think adding The Last of Us into that, you can really start to explore all those things. But at the end of the day, Last of Us is such this it's the definition of a grounded story. I mean, the hardest difficulty you could play on is grounded, so you really understand that this story is really gonna, I think this is really gonna hit home with a lot of people and let them look in the mirror and think about what they love.
Yeah, I totally agree. Before we get to all the Marvel stuff...
Oh, I can't spoil it yet. I was going to say the thing, but I can't.
Before we get to all the Marvel stuff, we got another Avatar trailer.
Oh, my God. My God.
Yeah.
Does that look phenomenal?
You've done it, James Cameron.
Yes.
You solved movies.
You, Tom Cruise, and Michelle Yeoh, of all people, have solved movies.
You have nothing else to do.
Yeah.
Nothing else to... You won.
Yeah.
You won.
And then Ryan Coogler's also going to come out in a week and then continue. He's going to be the last piece of the puzzle to solving movies. No. James Cameron is, but Ryan Coogler's going to hold the torch for like a month.
Yeah.
So...
Man, just...
I'm like breathtaken by how gorgeous. It's not even how it is how gorgeous it looks, but it's how gorgeous it feels. Like this genuinely it makes me feel something. Like,
I told you, we talked about this when we reviewed the first one a couple weeks ago. It's just this feeling that I can't put my finger on. I can't put it into words, but I know it when I feel it. And that's the feeling I got watching the second trailer in particular, because it's just mind blowing that this is a real movie that people were able to make.
Yeah, and I think there's this common misconception, right? And again, it's just the immediate versus the wait mentality that we kind of have in like consuming stuff. Like this feels like an aged wine versus like, a pop bottle. Like this genuinely feels like something where people took their time for years to make sure they got right. Not so they can, go to the box office and perform whatever. Not so they genuinely feel like the first priority in their minds was how do we craft a beautiful and incredible story about a family like that. Once you put stories like that at the forefront and make those important, that's where you get stories like Top Gun Maverick. You get stories like Everything Everywhere All at Once. That's where you get those genuine stories where it actually feels real and it feels right.
Yeah. I don't have anything else to add. It just looks insanely spectacular, and people can say they don't care all they want, but come December, that people are gonna care. I'd be willing to put my I don't know, career, whatever this is. I'm putting the podcast on the line
for you. The show must go on.
Yeah, and then we got a bunch of Marvel stuff, so let's blow through these. So we got some casting news. So we have Joe Locke joining the Agatha Coven of Chaos.
Heartstopper, Joe Locke.
He's playing Wiccan, right?
He's gotta be. So I wouldn't be surprised within the next couple of weeks if we get some kid with white hair getting cast, or like a really light blonde, and they're like, oh, that's got to be Speed, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
That show is going to be interesting.
Yeah. That show's slightly starting to pick up a little bit of steam, and the other casting is where it really gets me a little intrigued because
Aubrey Plaza is going to be in this also.
Yes, and I was getting live updates while you were talking before. So apparently her role is unknown, but she's rumored to be playing the main villain in Agatha Coven of Chaos.
Ooh, interesting. She's I don't know.
I can't think of anything.
She's some type of witch.
I just gotta believe
monster, right? Demon.
You make her Morgan Le Fay, maybe. I think we've had one or two Morgan Le Fays because we've had the one from The Runaways.
Yep.
And then Why do I feel like we've had another Morgan Le Fay somewhere? I'm probably wrong, but we've at least had one Morgan Le Fay, but maybe you just make her Morgan Le Fay. Maybe I just genuinely think they're just going to make her some witch from the comics. Yeah. That's it. Agatha's going to go on a slight redemption arc. But the lines are still going to be a little gray with her, because the next piece that you're probably going to get into after this is going to be interesting for the whole WandaVision sect of this. So you do Wicked and Speed. Do you think Elizabeth Olsen's coming back for this?
Potentially.
Yeah, I think she's going to do a steady, because she's going to go on her redemption arc is the thing. She's going to go on her redemption arc till whenever Secret Wars happens. So, yeah. I think that, do you think we're going to get a WandaVision season 2, or do you think we're going to get a Scarlet Witch solo movie?
I think, I think she's good enough that she could carry her own movie.
I do think so as well. What does that movie look like, though?
I don't know.
I feel like you kind of do, because I know what VisionQuest could look like, and it's the Vision by Tom King would be the perfect run to pull from, because they pulled little elements from that for WandaVision, but I think you go full send, you give Vision his own family, and then have Wanda come back from the dead essentially from the end of Multiverse of Madness and be like, I thought we were together. And guess not. And he's just like, I made a new family and moved on. That would be interesting. And then getting into another piece of news, we're going to talk about another character that was cast. That even makes that more interesting, because she potentially has a new love interest that's in the fold now.
Yeah. So let's do those two things now. So we do have VisionQuest confirmed.
Oh, I love it. I love these names. I used to be so against these names, but now I love them.
They doubled down and they stuck with we're going to smash two words together and make it the title of our thing for this weird Vision Wanda universe that we've created.
Why do I love this little piece of the universe so much?
Because it's wholesome.
It is kind of wholesome, yeah.
So Paul Bettany's returning as the Vision, the White Vision. Probably going on a self-discovery journey, essentially.
Yeah, he's still bugged out from this ship of Theses, so he needs to find himself. He's gonna go backpacking through Europe, and then he can find himself.
Essentially, this is what that's gonna be. It's gonna be the Vision self-discovery tour, and at the end of it, he's probably gonna be like, "I am the Vision. I was in Age of Ultron before." Yep. So that's cool. I like that character. I like Paul Bettany as that character.
Yep, and I'm glad he's not done, because I know it was circulating that he was going to be done after WandaVision, but I'm so glad he's not.
He didn't know. He was just like, I don't know.
Remember when he said, I'm going to finally work with the actor I've wanted to work with forever?
Just the best.
I'm so glad we didn't have this podcast back then, because I would have looked like the biggest soups in the world during that time. Oh my god, it was relentless.
The best. Paul Bettany's the best.
I was full Reed Richards was in this. I was full that it's gonna be Al Pacino as my I don't know what idiot me was thinking during that, but I've calmed down. Good. And then you get good surprises like Jonathan Majors being He Who Remains, and is that the biggest one we've got out of all of this?
Yeah, because everything else was kind of, we already knew everything else that was coming, I think, for the most part.
Yeah.
And then the last bit of Marvel casting news is Yahya Abdul-Mateen II from Aquaman.
And from Watchmen.
And from Watchmen, and from Matrix Resurrections.
Yep. And from Candyman.
Yes.
This man's active. He's
great.
Working.
I like him
a lot. Me too. I think he's got a boatload of charisma.
And he's been cast as Wonder Man.
Wow,
Speaking of boatloads of charisma.
Right, yeah.
So, he's been cast as Wonder Man for the upcoming Wonder Man Disney Plus show.
Helmed by Daniel Destin Cretton, which I think is a incredible choice. I think he did so well with Shang-Chi. I mean, so well that they entrusted him with Kang Dynasty with an Avengers movie. So, obviously he's hitting all the right buttons at Marvel, and so is Yahya. So, I think that's somebody that's on the up and up. And also it gives Elizabeth Olsen a new squeeze and maybe a little love triangle. That would be kind of interesting.
People are already kind of fantasizing them together as a thing, and the chemistry and what that could look like on screen.
Right.
That could be fun.
I think that could be fun too. And the whole brainwaves thing. What I hope we kind of get a version of the West Coast Avengers would be kind of cool. Like just like a sect of Avengers that's like on the out there, kind of like, because the central hub is kind of New York, but
the bootleg Avengers.
Hey man. Come on, man. But no, I think that would be kind of cool. Like She-Hulk, you have She-Hulk. Who else will you have? You're gonna have She-Hulk. You're gonna have You're gonna have Vision. You're gonna have Wonder Man. Like that would be kind of a cool place to kind of have a little piece of the Avengers. Like maybe Rhodey's in there too. Like while Sam's in like the East Coast doing all those things, like Rhodey can be in the West Coast helming those Avengers. Like I think that would be good. Like if like we said, it genuinely feels now that the Avengers are starting to reform again, and Wonder Man's going to be a part of it. It's going to be really cool.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think it's a great choice for the casting. Like I said, I think
maybe Quake from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. can be on that team.
I think that guy is good in everything I've seen him in.
Yeah,
regardless of the quality of the film. Like I said, Matrix Resurrections, I quite liked him as this weird Morpheus character that he was playing.
Yeah,
I thought he was, like you said, charismatic as all hell, and I'm looking forward to seeing him as Wonder Man.
He was one of the best parts of Aquaman too.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. The character work in Aquaman was actually pretty solid.
Gave him a big goofy helmet.
Give him the comic book costumes.
That's what Aquaman did.
Yeah, give him the comic book costumes, and then. Man, one day we're going to talk about Watchmen because I genuinely think that is one of the best TV shows that I've ever seen. I think that show is absolutely phenomenal and perfect, for lack of a better term. It's just, I just couldn't believe what I was watching while I was watching that.
Yeah,
babe, we're in frickin' trouble. Oh my God, it's so good.
And then the last bit of Marvel news, we got a trailer for the next Marvel special presentation, and it is courtesy of James Gunn. It is the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special, and it looks really fun. Yeah,
it looks fun. That's all they need, and I think there's going to do some backdoor world building and setting the stage for Guardians 3, but it's the best thing about this for me. It was the question that I'd had for so long: has he been back to Earth yet? And I guess we're gonna get that answer. And I think it's important that we get that answer. I think something's gonna happen. And Guardians of 3 seems so dang emotional. Like I feel like when that trailer drops, like we're gonna feel like when the Wakanda Forever trailer dropped, like it's gonna be so emotional kind of seeing, the last bit of this and what everybody's went through. But yeah, Peter's sad, no Gamora, and Kraglin kind of says, hey, it's Christmas on Earth, and they kind of hatch a plan where
we're gonna get Drax and Mantis kind of like buddy cop thing.
Yeah, and they kind of go to Earth, and they're just like, you know what, we're gonna get the thing that Peter Quill loves the most. Is it his mother? No. Is it his grandfather? No. Is it wherever he was and wherever state he was in? No. Guess what it is? It's Kevin Bacon. And Kevin Bacon's in this.
Kevin Bacon is in this.
He's not killing mutants in this.
No, he's not. Whatever his character's name was.
Sebastian Shaw.
He's not Sebastian Shaw. I almost said Sebastian Stan, but that's not it.
You're Sebastian Stan from Fresh.
Yeah, so Kevin Bacon is Kevin Bacon in this. It looks really fun. More special presentations, please. We talked about this with Werewolf by Night. I enjoy the idea of a little hour-long Guardians of the Galaxy journey.
Yeah, I think these shots are perfect, and what you can add into these shots are like how comics work. Like, just give us like a single. You can treat them as single issues. Like that's if the shows are like, or if the movies are like an arc that you're covering, and the shows are like a 6-issue miniseries, those specials can be like literally one comic, or they can be just like a one shot. These
are ostensibly an extension of the Marvel one-shots that they did with the for those of you kids who can remember long enough for DVDs, the DVD
what's a DVD?
The DVD releases of like the first couple Marvel movies all had these Marvel one-shots where they would just be like an extension of like a thing. Sorry, I have a hair in my mouth. But for example, at the end of, I think it was, I forget which one was the All Hail the King one.
Oh, that was after Iron Man 3.
Yeah, it was.
I think that was on the.
I think it was on the Thor.
It was either on the Thor Dark World or it was on the Winter Soldier, because those two movies came out back to back.
I think it was on the Thor Dark World one, and it was basically.
Was it the best part of Thor: The Dark World?
Yeah.
Who's to say?
I'm to say. It's me. I'm him.
Much as Daemon Targaryen says, I'm him.
So yeah, so it was basically confirmation that like the real Mandarin is still out there, which was like their way of being like, we're sorry, we screwed it.
Yeah,
with
we
screwed
Mandarin. The pooch.
And then they fixed it in Shang-Chi.
Yeah,
which was great. But yeah, I'm all for the special presentation. We talked very glowingly of Werewolf by Night. I'd like to see more of these.
Yeah,
thanks. Give me a Kate Bishop one.
Kate Bishop one would be cool. This whole Spider-Man thing is interesting, but
give me a Daredevil one.
Yeah, give me a Heroes for Hire shot. Like,
give me a Heroes for Hire one. Yeah, that's perfect. I don't even need a show.
That would be the best way, because if you're gonna get Finn Jones back, because I do think that Mike Coulter will come back. So if you pull the trigger, and I mean, Finn Jones has been talking, like he says, I understand. I think you're kind of auditioned, like he has said, like I understand what was wrong and it won't happen again. Like
that's a perfect. Oh, that one's perfect. I don't need a show of Heroes for Hire. Just give me like an extended version of what they did in Luke Cage episode 11 of season 2. Just give me that. It's perfect. Give me some Wu-Tang. Yep.
Give me the costumes. Marvel, if you're listeing,
I know you are.
Give Luke the yellow shirt and the jeans and the Tims, and give Danny his suit. Just make him the Iron Fist.
Yeah.
And have him face. Listen, I got the plan. I got the plan. Have Finn Jones and Shang-Chi too. Give him a nice little Namor / Black Panther thing, or just do the Seven Cities thing again. Mm-hmm. Ignore everything you did in Iron Fist and just do that. Bring him back. Agree. I was reading the Immortal Iron Fist by Matt Fraction, who also wrote the Hawkeye run that everybody loves, that the TV show is based off. That arc is so great, and like it just shows how like cool and calm that Iron Fist is. Like, give me that. That's the Iron Fist that we need to see. Give him the suit. Let him be that little Zen master. Like, it's so fun.
Yep, I totally agree.
Nova one shot.
Huh?
Nova one shot.
Oh, I thought you said Nobu.
Oh, give me a Nobu one shot.
Bring that guy back.
Yeah, bring that guy back. He was a problem.
Nova one shot would be cool.
What other one shots? Who are other characters that exist?
Hot take. Give me Captain America and Howling Commandos one shot.
That would be
Chris Evans.
Cool. That would be well. To that point, give me a one shot where it's like the past Captain America, because they already did that comic for Isaiah Bradley. Give me that. Give me the story of when he fought Bucky back in the day.
Yep.
That would be kind of cool.
That'd be very cool. Mm-hmm. There's just so many things you can do with it.
Yeah, you can.
Let's talk some Thrones.
Oh man.
We've been waiting 10 weeks to do this. House of the Dragon. So this comes off the back of season 8 of Game of Thrones, which divided a lot of people.
Sure.
I thought it was okay. Obviously it had severe pacing problems that I think led to kind of how people felt about it. Some moments that didn't quite land for people. I'm not going to spoil them here because you haven't watched it.
I finished season 2. I'm there. The House of the Dragon got me because I was watching Thrones, but I was busy. But now I'm like genuinely making so much time just to dedicate myself to I'm in my fantasy bag right now.
Yeah. So this was based on Fire and Blood, obviously by George R. R. Martin. Fire and Blood reads more of a history of the Targaryen family as opposed to kind of like a novel like Game of Thrones and that series. So a lot of kind of wiggle room for the showrunners of the show to kind of fill in the gaps. George R. R. Martin has been very hands-on with the show. He's been very happy with it. And why wouldn't he be? Yeah. Because it was very, very, very good.
Yeah, I was really taken aback by how much I was enjoying this. And this is from somebody that was forcibly told to watch the show. I'm kidding. But you did put the hammer down. You said you gotta watch the Hot D. You gotta watch it.
So real quick, Miguel Sapochnik was one of the showrunners. He's obviously has since announced his departure from the show. He's stepping back, but he was a very great choice to showrun this. Mm-hmm. He has directed some of the most critically acclaimed Game of Thrones episodes, season 5 episodes 7 and 8. So The Gift and Hardhome, which is one of the best Game of Thrones episodes. He directed season 6 episode 9, The Battle of the Bastards. He directed season 6 episode 10, The Winds of Winter, and he directed probably 2 of the better episodes of season 8 in The Long Night and The Bells. So
The Long Night is the Arya Stark game winner, right?
Yes, The Long Night.
For lack of a better term,
it's the Battle of Winterfell. And then Ryan Condal was also on the show, a Game of Thrones alum, a Colony alum. Mm-hmm. So he had his hands all over the show, as did George Martin. We had just an incredible cast of characters.
Yeah, the cast is insane. It's wild.
Really cool also that this show did for these actors is exactly what Game of Thrones did for the first group of actors. We had what House of the Dragon had was like their name, right? The name that people recognize. Some people, I'm sure, recognize Paddy Considine. Some people recognize Rhys Ifans.
Yeah,
we recognize Rhys Ifans
right away. He's got like 2 underlines on the whiteboard.
Matt Smith.
Oh yeah,
was probably,
Morbius' own.
Look, he's the best part of Morbius, man.
And he might be the best part of this show too.
Look, it's a lot closer with this as it was with, but then and then obviously this was I think a star-making performance for Millie Alcock.
Yep.
Who portrayed Rhaenyra Targaryen for the first 4 episodes. 4 or 5?
5, because 6 is when they do the time jump.
Yep. So,
I'm fresh off this, so
yeah. I watched this week to week, so.
And I did this in a big old shot.
Yeah, you did. And like I said, just star-making performances all around. Emily Carey, who portrayed young Alicent Hightower, and then the 2 elder actors as well, Emma Darcy and Olivia Cooke. I think are also everyone's about to like rising tides rise all ships.
Yep.
And that's what this is going to do once again, like Game of Thrones did for the likes of Kit Harington and Sophie Turner and Emilia Clarke. This show will now do for Emma Darcy, Olivia Cooke, Millie Alcock.
There's a new Millie on the block.
I said however many weeks ago I'd like to see Millie Alcock be Gwen Stacy.
That would be kind of cool to whatever, and then you get a Miles Morales running. It'd be cool. It's pretty cool.
So yeah, this broke and matched all sorts of records, viewing records that were previously set by Game of Thrones. The viewership grew week in and week out. Obviously, strong signs that people were enjoying the show, and I think this show got everybody back on board, which we talked about was the task. Essentially, was
impossible.
Could this kind of not erase season 8 of Game of Thrones, but because there are quite a few allusions to season 8 of Game of Thrones, in particular Viserys' kind of prophecy of Aegon the Conqueror's prophecy. So it definitely didn't shy away from Game of Thrones, and I mean the first episode is directly says like this is set 100 some odd years before the birth of Daenerys Targaryen, and that's a great setting stone for where this show kicks off. And I really like this show a lot.
Me too. And I'm glad we kind of have 2 different perspectives on how to like say things, because I think there are things that I was saying that didn't make too much sense to me that you kind of liked, and then vice versa. There were other things that I like really liked. That's the beauty of kind of how you can digest these things and the freedom that we kind of had to watch all these things.
Yeah, and I just liked how they set the tone right away. Like that first episode, man. No opening credit sequence in that first episode. It's a cold open.
Cold open. We
cold open in the Game of Thrones. The old king Jaehaerys Targaryen he's getting ready to die.
Yeah, he's getting his retirement plan in order. Yeah, he just bought a Cadillac. He's ready, man.
This is a theme. It's really great that this is the scene that the show opens on, because this is the core theme of the entire show.
Yep.
Is this idea of succession.
Yep.
And what does succession mean, and how important is it to stick to what the king says?
Yeah, it's the plan versus what the kingdom needs.
Yeah. So they hold a vote. We have democracy in Westeros. They hold a vote, and lo and behold, the eldest grandson, Prince Viserys Targaryen, is named heir over the eldest grandchild, Princess Rhaenys. So that is, again, another theme that's going to come up throughout this show. And then we fast forward a bit. Viserys has been king for quite a while.
9 years.
9 years he's been king. It's been good.
Yeah, well, it's that dub, and this show is incredibly poetic too, because he's dubbed Viserys the Peaceful, and this through line that you get in terms of a character, and moreover, one of the more character driven, and I'm talking more, character study pieces, is this idea that you cannot remain all good if you want to be, if you want to be a great leader, and his nobility is his fatal flaw.
It's the first kind of noble king we've seen in this universe. Talking about, going into Game of Thrones, I'm not going to jump too far ahead for you, but the two kings that you've seen so far to this point, Robert Baratheon and Joffrey Baratheon, are not exactly the the pinnacles of nobility.
Right. Yeah. Joffrey is, he's a tyrant. Essentially, he's a childlike tyrant that doesn't know the weight of his actions yet, and that is very much just, he's letting his teenage impulses drive every decision that he has, and he has a little bit of like evil in him.
Yes.
And Robert never wanted this. Robert is just much more of like he's like
the soldier who became king.
Yeah, he's like Thor. He's like Thor before he understood what kingship truly means. He's a warrior over a king. He doesn't understand what the weight of what this has to mean. Like, he says to, like, I love those conversations he has with Ned where he's just like, remember all those things we used to do? And Ned's like, we're not those young men anymore. Like, we actually have duties and you have the duty of anybody that needs to have this. He's just like, I'll let you do it and I'll just drink and get fat. And
meanwhile, Viserys, kind of has somewhat of a handle on the kingdom. I mean, there's peace in Westeros.
Right, yeah.
We haven't seen peace in Westeros anytime we've ever watched this show, ever.
And it's such a great way to do that because of what this divulges into, and it's so allegorical. So there's so many layers too. So let's talk about physically what Paddy Constantine goes through and what King Viserys goes through, because the episode starts with him being worked on. Like, he just has a small patch on his back that's infected, and you're just like, ugh. But at the same time, you're like, once looking at it in hindsight from the last episode and what it goes to, like, the thing that I thought about, it's like his nobility is physically poisoning him to the point where he is dying from him being a good person or trying to be this good person.
Yeah, that's a great read on it. And, his whole thing right now is he's hopped up on, he needs a male heir.
Yeah.
So his wife, Emma Arryn, has not been able to have a successful pregnancy up until this point, with the exception of Princess Rhaenyra Targaryen, who is his only child right now. And she's pregnant, so he's like, we're going to celebrate. We're going to have a big tournament. Let's celebrate. Let's have a tournament. Because my wife's going to give birth to a healthy baby boy. I feel it in my bones that we're going to have this baby boy. And, that's the crux of this. The first episode is just, it's a great establishing piece for who these characters are. Rhaenyra gets a great introduction. She swoops in on her dragon, and you're like, oh, she's not like your average girl. You know what I mean? Yep. It's one of those situations. Yeah. Like, she's riding a dragon. She likes to be out and about.
And then she talks to her mother, who's giving birth. And again, it's so poetic what it gets to, because she talks about, like, I never want to carry a child inside of me. Like, I'd rather die a warrior's death than carry a child inside of me.
Yeah.
Lo and behold.
She would go on to have several children.
Heaps of kids.
And we establish her with Alicent Hightower immediately. They're
best friends.
And
sisters.
Some, maybe closer than that. There's definitely some glances exchanged, some physical acting that's being done that suggests that maybe they maybe felt a way about each other. We're introduced to Viserys' small council.
Yep.
Helmed by Rhys Ifans' Otto Hightower, the Hand of the King, who just off the bat just seems like a skeevy guy.
There's something off. There's something off about this guy, but it's the performance that Rhys Ifans puts in. It's some of the best that he's done in his entire career, in my opinion.
He's powerful.
But he's so calm. There's no situation where he has to raise his voice, that he has to become somebody that he's not. He's always true to this plan that he has. His plan is almost as true. It's like it's the fragility of this Song of Fire and Ice versus the concrete nature of what he's doing, but they're all built on this thought of belief that this can be done.
Yep. And then at the small council meeting, they discuss King Viserys' brother, Daemon Targaryen, who they just all agree is just a jerk, essentially. They're like, he's the worst. Why do you let him do anything? And Viserys is like, I gotta let him do something.
Yeah, he's my
and
brother.
You guys are never happy with whatever I let him do.
Yeah,
and they're like, because every time he does something, he screws it up.
Yeah, again, that's just him showing who he is as a person. He's not going to betray his brother. He's going to try to make sure he's taken care of. And again, that's another thing that kind of gets him in the end.
We get to the tournament, and there's heaps of recognizable emblems and shields. There's some Baratheon shields in there, some Stark shields, some Lannister shields.
You're one of the Starks from House Stark.
Daemon Targaryen rocks up in his big black dragon armor, and he's like, he gets to pick basically like who he gets to fight. And then there's this other knight there who they're like, he's getting more screen time than all the other knights.
Yeah.
He got to take his helmet off.
Yeah.
He's important. And then Rhaenyra is obviously like taken up with this guy.
Yeah.
And they're like, who's he? And he's like, Kristen Cole. They're like, what?
That's an easy name to remember. You're going to be a main character.
They're like,
you?
where is he from? And they're like, who cares? He's
cares?
the son of some lowborn. I don't even know how he got here, to be honest with you.
But boy, can he fight.
Yeah, and that's an important thing too. Viserys remarks like, none of these guys know how to fight, and it's been 9 years apiece.
I think Rhaenyra was talking about it. Like,
they all want to fight, but none of them know how. They're all summer children, as it were, except for basically Daemon and Kristen Cole. So Daemon, he picks an easy mark and then Daemon and Kristen Cole have their big joust off, and Kristen Cole wins. He unseats the Rogue Prince and gives the eyes to Rhaenyra, and she's like, "Oh, I like him." All the meanwhile, while this is happening, just a brutal scene with Emma, Viserys' wife, who's in the midst of childbirth.
Oh my gosh. And it's so the juxtaposition they throw of the triumph of Daemon right before, him having to submit to Kristen Cole, backdropped against Aemma giving birth. Oh, it's so
one of several just gut-wrenching birthing scenes we got in this show.
Yeah, they said we're gonna show these first. One thing about us, so this is the first instance of, this is the first time where he's put in an unwinnable situation. So Viserys gets to the point where the maesters tell him, listen, this isn't 2020, man. You got to either choose your wife. There's a secret practice known as we cut the belly of the woman.
It's a C-section.
It's a C-section, but you're either gonna kill the bait, you're gonna kill both of them, or you're gonna choose your wife, or you're gonna choose your son. And again, it's this idea that his faith in the Song of Fire and Ice is so strong that he's willing to let his wife die to make sure it comes to pass, and he does it.
Yeah,
he does it. It's so emotionally, jarring. Just watching the life being drained. It's not only the life being drained out of her. It's kind of how I felt watching Sarah die in the Last of Us video game. Like, it's the inevitability of that she's about to die in these next seconds. Like, and she does not have a choice in the matter. It's so sad.
Yeah, and later on, and in that moment, you think like Viserys is like some monster for making this choice, like choosing the child over the wife. But again, put yourself in that situation. If you knew definitively that one or the other was going to survive or not, like, what would you do? It's an impossible choice. And you clearly find out later that Viserys really loved Emma. Yeah,
which is incredibly rare. And it's so humbling, me watching Game of Thrones and watching all these kings and queens not love each other, but Viserys genuinely loving his wife, which is just absolutely unheard of. He's so noble. Like, he screams everything you want in like a good person in that day and age.
Yeah, and then, tragically what ends up happening, the baby boy, Balon, dies also. It's not very long either. It's like a quick cut and we're at the funeral and you're like, whoa, like what happened? And then you find out that the child died, and, Emma and the child are both given a death by dragon fire as Targaryen custom, and
Dracarys.
And then it, politics never sleeps. So the small council
they get after it right away. And this is like your first exposure to Otto Hightower being more than it's Viserys is now unfortunately starting to learn, like, these people don't care about you. They care about succession.
Daemon says it to him in the very beginning. He's like, none of these people care about you. They only care about their own self-interest. Yeah. And Viserys is like, get out of here. Otto Hightower is the best man I know.
Yep. Boy, is he. While this is going on, Daemon is just over the moon because guess who's next in line to be king now? Himself. So, there's rumors going around that Daemon might overthrow the king. He's got the City Watch under his helm. So
he's organized them as the Gold Cloaks.
Yep, as the Gold Cloaks. So, he's ready. Like, if he were to take a play on power, but I'm glad, what the show does well? You don't feel the credibility of it in the way that you don't feel like Daemon would do it. Like, you just think that people are kind of, putting it in his ear. Oh, he might do this, so you got to be careful. Like, but Viserys is like, no, my brother would never, he might be a jerk, but he's not this bad person you guys make him out to be. And then
rumor has it,
like a Steph Curry game winner, Daemon drops one of the coldest lines, and it reverberates throughout the entire kingdom until it gets to the palace. That
all hail Prince Balon,
king for a day,
heir for a day.
Man, the speed at which I texted you after he said that was I was like, this man is ice cold for this.
Yeah, Viserys brings Daemon into his chambers, into the Iron Throne, and he goes, "Get out."
He said, what did you say, man?
Did you say it? And Daemon's like, "I might have said it." And then he's like, "You're out. Get out."
Yeah.
Kicks his brother out, banishes him from King's Landing, and in the meantime, makes just really the only decision he has left, and he names Rhaenyra heir to the Iron Throne.
Yeah, the scene the prelude to that scene is incredible too, where he brings her into the dungeon and the music's well on it. It's so good. It's just
brings her before the skull of Balerion, the Black Dread, the largest dragon in history of Westeros.
Yeah.
The dragon that Aegon the Conqueror rode during the conquest. Yeah, and he basically lays it out for her.
Yeah, and it's a test for him because he needs to know, because again, his conviction on this cause is so incredibly powerful that he's willing to do whatever, and that's even if that's named the first queen of Westeros, that's what needs to be done. So he asks her, is just like, what do you care? Like, what do you look at? Like, when you see this, what do you see? Like, do you see? I forget what he says exactly, but he kind of goes into, like, for lack of a better term, like, he wanted to see if she sees this bigger picture, if she's in this for, the power for herself, or if she can believe this dream that he has. And I guess she's sold on it, and lo and behold, Rhaenyra Targaryen, the heir to the Iron Throne.
The first woman in line for the Iron Throne in the history of the Westeros.
Incredible frame it ends on, just her face in front of the throne, and that's it. That's
people pledging to her.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Starks, the Baratheons, the heir, everybody.
Then we get to basically just a series of episodes that do some world building and character work. So the second episode, first of many time jumps. So this is a 6-month time jump. So Rhaenyra is named the heir. We find out that Daemon has illegally occupied Dragonstone, the home of the Targaryens.
Yep. So Daemon, again, is not happy because, rightfully so, he should be next in success. I mean, that's the thing. Who should be next in line, or should it be a vote? Should it just be succession based? And that's where it really comes to bite them in the butt later in the show, and it's a big piece for when the big time jump happens. But who should it be? That's the question. And Daemon, to himself, has a very strong claim that
sees himself as the true heir.
Yeah, I'm the younger brother of him. If he were to die mysteriously, it should be me. And having the gold cloaks gives him gives him
like a small army, essentially, to himself.
He's ready to, and these trained men are ready to, if he says take the throne.
So Rhaenyra, all the meanwhile, we hear the first of the stepstones mentioned in the second episode. Man. This man known as the Crab Feeder is just wreaking havoc on the stepstones, and this real comic book villain that descends into Game of Thrones is the Crab Feeder, and Rhaenyra's like, well, we need to go down there.
Yeah, yep, and Viserys he's not having it. He's just not listening.
No, because this point, Rhaenyra's still, she may be the heir, but she's still the cupbearer. Like, she's not on the small council. So she's like, we should show force. We should crush the Triarchy where they stand. And everyone's like, shut up.
Yeah, but Viserys, more importantly, is just like, we can't do this because, again, I'm peaceful. I don't want to engage in war. I don't want to entertain this. He thinks it's some small battle over there. I don't need it's not anything of worry.
Yeah. So he goes, Rhaenyra, why don't you go pick a new Kingsguard? Do that, would you? Mm-hmm. And she goes out there with Sir Harold. I quite like Sir Harold.
Yeah, he's cool. He's been in a lot of things.
Yeah, Grant McTavish is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, Grant McTavish plays Sir Harold. And he's like, well, who's it going to be? And obviously, who she's going to pick. She picks Kristen Cole. And
she's, after vehemently roasting the other ones to their faces, like, have you fought anybody? And they're like, no. And she's like, next. She pulls a Simon Cowell the whole time.
And they're like, are you sure you're picking this guy because he can fight? Or are you picking him because he's good looking? And she's like, bit of both.
She said, who's to say?
Both?
Both. BOFF. Both.
Meanwhile, Otto is pulling the strings of his daughter, Alicent. He's like, the king might be a little sad, a little lonely.
You know what he needs? A 15-year-old girl.
Alicent, go chat with the king. Wear your mother's dress, though. The nice one. You know the one. And she does. She goes to see Viserys, and they have a nice little chat.
Yeah, and what Alicent appeals to is, his human nature, and also he's got this grace to him and this subtlety, which is just he's a big little things guy. Like, he has like a full replica of King's Landing.
Big divorced dad energy.
Yeah, he does.
Playing with the model trains.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
got a big model of King's Landing that he's been working on. And Alicent appears very genuine.
I think she is genuine to start. I think she genuinely does care about him, and I do think she genuinely does develop feelings for him.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I think, again, he's a good guy. Like, he's one of the only good people that you'll probably meet.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Corlys Velaryon, the sea snake of Driftmark.
What a cool name, by the way.
Tremendous.
Sea snake.
The sea snake of Driftmark, and his wife, so Princess Rhaenys, who we talked about earlier, was technically should have been probably the heir to the Iron Throne, being the eldest grandchild of King Jaehaerys. She was passed up, and Corlys has his own little machinations. He's like, hey, Viserys, why don't you marry my daughter? And Viserys is like, I could marry a daughter.
Yeah. And then he meets the daughter, and he's just like,
such an awkward scene.
So I have to drop her off at daycare and meet your daughter, right? He's like, no, this is the daughter. He's like, ugh.
Just like the youngest 12-year-old looking 12-year-old you've ever seen.
She's like, very like, can you tell me that story about that one time? And he's like, this does not feel... No. This feels so wrong.
Rhaenyra and Rhaenys have a little chat, and Rhaenys is like, they're never gonna let you gonna be queen.
Yeah.
It's not gonna happen.
Yeah, it's you know, that scene for me was so interesting because I know the genuine, you know, population would probably think that scene is just her trying, you know, instill a little fear, you know, a little jealousy, but I think it's even more than that. I feel like she was giving her like I think it was a genuine warning, like, it's not because I hate you right now and I'm jealous. You know, obviously there probably was a little jealousy, but I think moreover, it's like, I'm genuinely trying to warn you. They are not going to let you be queen of this place. I've seen it firsthand. Like,
I've lived it, yeah.
I'm just telling you the truth that nobody else is going to tell you.
Yeah. So, meanwhile, the small council's like, we gotta do something about Daemon, because he went to Dragonstone. He stole an egg.
He's
marrying some woman.
Yeah, he's doing all the things that, you know, royalty.
He took another wife.
Wife. His wife is very Gina Carano, his real wife. That's the only person I can think of.
So they go to Dragonstone, and Otto's there for some reason. He meets Daemon on the bridge. The first of 2 bridge meetings these two will have. And he's like, give it.
Yeah, give me the stone. He said, I'm gonna have it with my son that's about to be born.
Damon's like,
the true heir to the Iron Throne.
You can have this egg when you pry it from my cold dead fingers. And then we get the first appearance of Daemon's dragon, Caraxes. Well, the second appearance, but the first full look at Caraxes, this long, noodle-necked, bat-looking dragon. That is my favorite dragon that we've seen this entire show.
Because he has great cinematic timing.
Caraxes has incredible timing.
Yeah.
He has this lizard screech that's not quite like a roar.
Yeah, it's such a great... I love how they kind of always do it before any of the... You hear a little, like, clicking, like, almost, like, before the dragons are shown.
And Caraxes has this, like, high-pitched kind of, like, chirping, and then he slithers in with his neck, and he's like... He almost looks like he's smiling. And Otto's like, all right, put the swords down.
Yeah.
And then Rhaenyra props up.
Yeah, Rhaenyra's like, I'm about that life.
With her dragon.
Rhaenyra pulls, she very much pulls a Paul Atreides from Dune, like, where they go on that rescue mission, and then because when she comes back, much how Duke Leto was, Viserys is the same way, like, you can't do those things that you're doing, like, you can't, like, you're royalty in succession, like,
but
you can't.
She says it in the first episode. She's a dragon rider. Yep. She wants to die a dragon rider's death, so she pulls up on Syrax, her dragon, and
pretty cool.
Syrax and Caraxes kind of have like a stare down, and Daemon realizes like this is a no-win situation because there's this through line of the dragons being akin to like nuclear weapons.
Yeah,
and it would be real petty for everyone to die right here, but with Caraxes and Syrax. But
also,
yeah,
they
go talk. Rhaenyra walks up to Daemon and they exchange glances.
Yeah,
they chat with each other, and Daemon's like, here you go.
Guess what, everybody? Your favorite through line of Game of Thrones is back. The incest is back.
I have an each. That's your niece, Daemon. Your niece. And yeah, they exchange glances. Daemon gives the egg back, and he goes back goes back inside. Meanwhile, his wife, Masari is like, you told them I was pregnant, and he's like, eh.
Yeah. It's great this guy's great on the fly, man. Amazing on the fly.
I might have.
Who's to say?
And then the last stinger to this episode is Viserys is like, hello, everybody. Hello, small council. I've made up my mind. I figured out who I'm going to marry. Big drum roll. Who's the choice?
Is it going to be the 12-year-old?
Or is it going to be the woman, the girl that he's literally been spending every hour of every day with for like the past 3 weeks? He elects to marry Alicent Hightower. just pissing off literally everybody in that room.
Except for Otto Hightower.
Well, yeah. Angers Rhaenyra, angers Corlys a lot.
Right.
So much so
what do you mean you won't marry my child?
So Corlys goes to it's a very kind of like not comic book movie scene, but like action movie scene where like Corlys is talking to some like mysterious person, and then chair swivel. It's Daemon Targaryen.
Yep.
So Corlys is like, let's align, you and I. We'll go down to the Stepstones. We'll crush the Triarchy. We'll establish our power, and that'll make Viserys see the error of our ways. And then we go to the third episode, and it hasn't quite gone that way because they've been fighting in the Stepstones for 3 years. Just Corlys and his crew, and Daemon and his crew, and a couple of dragons, and Viserys has stayed out of it, basically.
Yep.
As his thing.
That's his thing, yeah. Stay out of any type of conflict, war. Like, everybody knows people like that. They don't want to be a part of anything like that. And he just so happened to be the king, and unfortunately, being the king means you cannot stay out of these issues and conflicts.
And 3 years have passed, and wouldn't you know it, Alicent Hightower has given Viserys his male baby boy, Aegon the First. Well, the second. Aegon the second of his name, Aegon Targaryen, and Rhaenyra is a little jealous of little half-brother Aegon.
Yeah. You little idiot.
And then Viserys is getting on Rhaenyra about marrying. And she's like, get lost, Dad. I don't want to marry anybody.
Well, yeah, because they go on, they do the same thing. They have this big celebration.
Viserys loves a big celebration.
It's the same thing as like when like parents have like a 1-year-old's birthday party, which is just an excuse to day drink because 1-year-olds don't remember. And she even says it. He's not, because Jason Lannister, very big Jaime Lannister energy pulls up and is just like, you're very beautiful.
Look how great I am.
Look how great I am. I have all the gold in every lion. And
I have Casterly Rock.
Yeah, look at me.
And Rhaenyra's like, get lost.
Yeah, nobody cares. Are you Kristen Cole? Are you my uncle? Then I don't care.
Someone suggests that she marry Aegon.
Man.
And she's like, also get lost?
Yeah, also get lost.
And then here comes Lord Lionel Strong, a real Sam Tarly looking guy. Seems to be like the most reasonable guy on the small council.
Right.
And he's like, why don't you marry Corlys Velarion's son, Laenor? Because you kind of shafted Corlys by not marrying his daughter.
Yep.
So this'll kind of, ease tensions.
Yep.
And Rhaenyra's like, get lost. I don't want to marry anybody. Has anyone been listening to me? And then Viserys is like, fine, you difficult, stubborn girl. You can marry whoever you want, and you can still...
This really is big single dad energy.
You're still the heir. That hasn't changed, even though Otto Hightower's in his ear like, Aegon should be the king, and Viserys is like, he's 2 years old. He can't be the king of anything.
But at least he wasn't the king for a day.
And then, so he assures Rhaenyra that you can be the heir. It's fine. You can marry whoever you want. And then, Otto Hightower is scheming to make Aegon the successor. And then, so Vaemond Velaryon is at the Stepstones, and he sends for help. He's like, can we ask the king for help, please? And Daemon's like, absolutely not. This is the episode where Daemon doesn't, like, Matt Smith doesn't say a word in this entire episode.
This might be the best that he's been all season.
Yeah, so Viserys gets wind of what's going on in the Stepstone, and he's like, fine, we'll send the help. Whatever. And then, so we have this whole through line of the hunt where Viserys is hunting the white stag. Like this big, white stag that is like this symbol of excellence, and it means good fortune, and like you're making all the right choices. They can't find it, so they end up just trapping a regular stag, and Viserys very like, kind of unceremoniously, they trap the stag, like 6 guys trap the stag. He stabs it a couple times. It dies. It's very womp womp.
Right.
Yeah,
it's so great because Viserys is not a killer. He's just not. He doesn't... Those things don't come naturally to him.
Meanwhile, Rhaenyra is out gallivanting with Kristen Cole. They get attacked in the woods by a boar. Rhaenyra kills said boar, kind of like establishing like...
She's like that?
She's like that. She's about that action. Yep. She has the chops to be heir to the Iron Throne.
Yeah, she has what her father doesn't have, and that's that killer instinct.
Yeah. She comes back into town. She like looks at Alicent, and like she's covered in like blood, boar blood. And
which particularly stands out amongst the white hair too, which is kind of cool.
Yep. Harwin Strong is there, and he gives Rhaenyra the eyes. He's like, get a load of her. Like, she comes across the white stag, and
she shows it mercy. She says, "Leave it." Leave it.
And the white stag like tips the cap.
That's like when two dads see each other in the street.
Then we get back to the Stepstones. The messenger arrives. I'm pretty sure this is the guy that invented the phrase "don't shoot the messenger" because he shows up with the message. Daemon reads the message. Presumably, like, Viserys is going to come help. He beats this messenger.
Within an inch of his life.
Almost to death. He goes down. He feigns surrender, essentially. He draws all the crab feeder's men out, and then here comes Laenor Velaryon atop his dragon, just roasting crab feeder soldiers. Daemon chases the crab feeder into a cave, and some odd minutes later walks out with half of the crab feeder, establishing Daemon as King of the Narrow Sea, as he would become to known in the next episode. So Rhaenyra's been on tour. She's been on courting tour, just like you said, Simon Cowling her ass off, just demolishing these suitors who are trying to like appease her, and she's just like, get lost, screw you, I hate you all.
Up yours, woke moralist.
She turns down some old man, she turns down some young kid who has some dog in him.
And then she's just like, maybe I should have took the kid.
But she's like, all right, I'm over this, take me home. And then this is where the Daemon Rhaenyra stuff starts to heat up, because Daemon arrives.
He's back. The prodigal son has returned.
Our now short-haired king shows up. He's like, look at this. They gave me a crown.
You like it?
It's yours.
Yeah.
He shows Viserys like, you're my brother. You're the king. I won the Stepstones for you. And Viserys, as is Viserys' fashion, let's celebrate, shall we? Let's throw a party.
Let's drink.
My brother's home.
Yeah, my brother's home.
They have some great brotherly back and forth. Like, Alicent's like, don't you want to show the tapestries? And Viserys is like, the tapestries. Can you believe her?
Yeah.
My freaking wife, am I right?
Yeah. Remember that one time when we were kids?
This whole time when Daemon comes into the throne room, by the way, Rhaenyra is like following him, Scooby-Doo style. She's like, my uncle's here.
Yeah.
My uncle's here. Have you seen my uncle? Look at him. He cut his hair.
Yeah.
Doesn't he look great?
Maybe a little too great for her.
They talk. He gives her a necklace, or she still has a necklace that he gave her.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, you still have my necklace. And she's like, of course, uncle, because you're my uncle.
In the great words of Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, that's my uncle.
Yeah. Alicent is just real bummed about life.
Yeah, I mean, she was taken from being the end of her childhood.
She's like, I miss being just Alicent Hightower.
Yep. Now you're the queen. There's no last name, you're just the queen.
Yep. Rhaenyra, is in a room at nighttime, and Daemon, she gets like a little message that's like, check behind the bookcase for a secret tunnel. She's like, ooh. She goes down. Wouldn't you know it, Daemon Targaryen's there.
Well, before this, her and Kristen Cole get it on.
Not yet.
Oh, is that before or after?
It's after. Because,
is it after?
Yeah, because what happens is they go on their little midnight excursion. There's a play being shown, and Rhaenyra's like...
Right.
It's basically making fun of Rhaenyra. Like, she can't be queen.
Right.
She's a woman. And Rhaenyra's like, oh, this sucks. Yeah. And Daemon's like, let me take you to the sex house.
I know what'll cheer you up.
They walk through several naked people. They get real close to each other. And then Daemon backs down. Rhaenyra's kind of ready. She's ready to go. Daemon backs down. He leaves. Just abandons Rhaenyra. She returns to her chambers. She's all charged up at this point.
Yep.
Just 17-year-old, repressed sexual energy that she was ready to just explore. So she's got to take it out on someone.
Yeah. And why not the pretty knight of Kristen Cole?
She brings him into her room, and he's like, I really shouldn't be doing this. And she's like, that's nice.
And it's over.
Would you mind taking off your breastplate?
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't wanna. And then she's like, you're gonna, because she asserts some sort of royal kind of dominance over him. Like, what is he supposed to do in that situation?
Just say no.
Can he?
No.
With the queen, queen to be kind of like lording over you with all this charged up energy. Yeah, and they have sex.
Oh no.
They do the sex. Meanwhile, Otto Hightower reports to Viserys, and he's like,
"Hey, man,
I don't know how to tell you this, but your brother and your daughter were seen together." And Viserys is like, "Knock it off."
Could have been her. They both had white hair. Ah, crap.
Couldn't have been them. They were just talking in a sex house of Viserys, and he's like, "You know how people talk in a sex house."
Viserys is top tier, like turning the other eye.
It's Wolfer ignorance. He knows what's going on. He knows. Search your feelings. You know it to be true.
But boy, does that get doubled down when he gets old.
So Alicent overhears this. She confronts Rhaenyra. Rhaenyra's like, "Absolutely not. And how dare you speak to me like this, Alicent Hightower?" And she's like, Fine. Meanwhile, Daemon drunkenly is dragged into the throne room again. And Viserys is like, "How dare you do this thing?" And Daemon's like, "Well, before I deny anything, I need to know what's happening."
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He said, "I'm a little hungover, man. You gotta be more specific."
He's like, "You just want my throne, and you're doing it to get with my daughter." And Daemon very shrewdly goes, "So what if I did? So what if I did have sex with your daughter?" And Viserys is like, "Out!"
Yeah, if you were my brother, I'd have your tongue.
So he's exiled again. And then to avoid all this scandalous stuff, Viserys confronts Rhaenyra and he's like, you literally have no longer a leg to stand on. You're marrying Laenor Velaryon. That's it. Mm-hmm. That's the end of it. You sacrifice your agency. That's it. You're done. And then Viserys and Rhaenyra's like, "You know who's doing this, right?"
Yep.
It's Otto Hightower. And Viserys is like, "Oh, I'll straighten him out." And he does.
Yeah. Yep.
He does. You think Viserys is this kind of, just not seeing what's going on, not seeing the game, and you realize he does see the game.
Yep.
And he's like, "I know what you did with Alicent. You used her to get to me, to get to my throne. You're done. Turn in your badge."
Yep. Leave your keys at the door.
And then, man. Good.
That's the Thrones. There's a really great scene where he leaves and he's talking to Alicent. This is the last time young Alicent and him see each other. It's so well done.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, all this is all happening. Remember that wife we were talking about that Daemon had? We got to pay that off. So
yeah.
She,
Lady Rhea Royce.
Yeah.
And she's like, "I hate you. You suck."
Talk about all time, understand the assignment for the 30 seconds you're on screen. Oh, it was great. It was great.
You suck. I hate you. I hate you more. It's one of those marriages. Mm-hmm. And then Daemon, I think a lot of people were confused about this scene. I think what happened is Daemon looked at the sky as if Caraxes was going to swoop in, mm-hmm. and that spooked the horse. Daemon gave these signs that a dragon was coming, mm-hmm. and it spooked the horse. It kicked Rhea off her horse. She cracked her back and is paralyzed and just shoots off one final line because Damon's gonna walk away from her at that point. She's crippled, whatever.
He's renounce the marriage and we're good.
Yeah, and
so I can get married to my niece.
And then she's like, "Typical you, don't know how to finish." And then he picks up a big rock, and then scene transition.
Yep.
So Rhaenyra and Laenor get married, and they have a nice little kind of chat about this.
Because...
Yeah, Laenor's a homosexual. Mm-hmm. A gay man.
Yep.
And Rhaenyra's like, "I don't care that you're gay. This is dumb."
She's just like, "I love my uncle."
She's like, "This is dumb. We're cousins. Let's just do this stupid marriage. We can do whatever we want. It'll be fun." I like their little kinship.
Yep.
It's really great. On the way back, however, our guy, Kristen Cole, just...
Oh my gosh. Don't be this guy. Listen, y'all. Don't be the guy that if you get rejected by a girl, you turn into the absolute worst of yourself.
He pulls up from long distance and he's like,
"Run away with me.
What if you just abdicate the throne that you're entitled to, leave your family, leave your dragon, come live with me on the farm, we'll be civilians?" And she's like, No, I can't.
Well, so she kind of counters him, just like, "Why don't you stick around? You could be my side. You could be the person that I told Lenore that I was gonna, be with, and that's it. That's the end of it."
And he's like, "You just want me to be your whore."
And she's just like, "No, but..." "Kinda.
But is that so wrong? We have a good thing going."
Yeah.
And he's just like, scoff.
Yeah.
He scoffs. Man. And then...
he takes it all out on her kids. What a jerk.
He really does. Otto packs up his bags, he's leaving, and he warns Alicent, like, Rhaenyra's gonna kill your kids when she becomes queen. And Alicent's like, no, she wouldn't. And Otto's like, she would. She absolutely would. And then, Alicent is trying to get to the bottom of what's going on with Rhaenyra and who she thinks. So here we go. The first of many misunderstandings on this show. She's like, Rhaenyra's, I'm gonna get to the bottom of this Rhaenyra and Daemon thing because it's bothering me. And then, so she asked Kristen Cole, she calls him in, she's like, you know Rhaenyra pretty well. And he's like, yeah.
Man folded. He folded.
Yeah, I do. And she's like, well, I've heard rumors that Rhaenyra has been... And Kristen Cole's like, it was me. It was me. I'm sorry. I violated my oath. And she's like, what? Like, that's not even what I was talking about, but okay. So, yeah. And he confesses. And then we get a big, it's another big celebration.
Yep.
Because Rhaenyra and Laenor are getting married. It's a great...
Oh my god, it's the perfect ending to the old guard of the show, to the younger actors on the show.
The Velaryons walk in like they're the Kardashians.
Yeah, man, it's so cool. It's really good.
Daemon is confronted by Rhea Royce's uncle. Just
dismisses him like she wasn't even like a thought to be had.
He's like, did you kill my niece? And he's like, no. He's like, but I heard she had an accident though, and I'm very torn up about it.
He's the GOAT.
And Viserys like looks at him like, oh my god, my brother's a psychopath.
But I gotta drink though. Viserys says I gotta get some alcohol in me. Viserys is a raging alcoholic.
He's also sick at this point.
Yeah, it's getting. My theory prevails that this kingship that he has is literally poisoning him slowly but surely.
And God, I love this wedding scene so freaking much.
Yep.
There's so much tension.
Yep.
There's so much tension in the room. There's so many just glaring glances being exchanged. Rhaenyra's looking at Kristen. Kristen's looking at Rhaenyra.
Lenore's looking at his lover.
Joffrey, yes.
Yep. His lover's looking at Kristen Cole. Oh, there's so much going on.
Joffrey goes up to Kristen Cole and he's like, so we're the side
Why would you do that?
We're the side pieces, huh? and Kristen's like, get lost.
Yeah, Kristen's like, Joffrey says, I've seen you looking at her all night.
And he's like, look, this can stay between us if you meet certain conditions. Kristen Cole's Arthur meme. Arthur Fist.
It.
Not yet.
Oh, yeah.
Arthur Fist. And then in walks Queen Alicent Hightower.
Wearing
a green dress.
She Fiona's it.
I believe it's the two Strong brothers.
Yep.
Harwin and Larys Strong have a conversation like, you know what it means. Do you know what color House Hightower raises when they call to war? It's green. Ooh.
Yeah.
Because
it's about to go down.
Yeah, because Alicent now has fully bought into this idea that Rhaenyra is an enemy, essentially. They exchange just icy glares at each other once they're each seated on each side of Viserys, and Viserys is like, isn't this great? Look at my family. And no, it's not great, Viserys, because big shriek. There's shrieking in the halls. It wouldn't be a Game of Thrones wedding without some tragedy. Kristen Cole has just bludgeoned poor Joffrey to death. Just horrifyingly, man.
It's bad. It's real bad.
Jesus. And then, Viserys very wisely, or perhaps cruelly, shotguns this wedding. He's like, that's it. Get married now. Yep. The still wet blood is still on the floor. Laenor has just literally watched the love of his life be beaten to death.
Yeah. I think I made the joke that Corlys looks over, he's like, why is my son crying on his wedding? What's wrong? But you alluded to, I think he knows.
It's willful ignorance, because Rhaenys, I think, says to him, like, come on, you know what's going on with Laenor. And Corlys is like, he'll grow out of it. It's a phase. It's not a phase, kids. You're born that way. It's fine. Kristen Cole's gonna off himself.
Yeah, he's gonna end his life.
And Alicent's like, no.
Yeah, I'm gonna need you.
Get up.
Yep.
And that's all you need.
Now I have a pawn. In my
I know,
game.
because, people are like, well, how did he not get in trouble? He was pardoned by the queen.
Right, yeah. The queen said, I'm gonna need you.
He's my Kingsguard now. And then, big time jump.
Big time. This is it. This is where this show takes off. It's how many years later?
10 years later.
10 years.
Rhaenyra, again, second traumatizing birth scene.
Jeez, man. She's literally walking through the tower just bleeding. It's insane.
She gives birth to her, we find out her third son.
What's his name?
Joffrey.
Ah.
And she's being summoned Well, she's not being summoned. The baby's being summoned.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Laenor Velaryon comes in. He's like, Alicent wants to see the child. And Rhaenyra's like, I'll bring her the damn child.
Yeah.
I'll walk up there
I love
myself.
how, like, crass older Rhaenyra is. Like, she's
Emma Darcy plays older Rhaenyra. Like, there was this question of, like, why couldn't Millie Alcock continue? This is why.
Yeah.
Emma Darcy has this world weariness to playing Rhaenyra that Millie Alcock had this, like, kind of childlike kind of fervor. Mm-hmm. You know, talking about the episode where she sleeps with Kristen Cole. Like, she has this youthful, like, kind of, like, energy to her. Like, the Emma Darcy version of Rhaenyra has seen some stuff.
Yep.
And I think it's brilliantly done.
Yeah, and then, I mean, the counter to that is what Olivia Cook does for Alicent. Olivia Cook becomes cold. She becomes very cold, and they both adapt to what this world has offered them.
Very, very insincere when Rhaenyra walks in, and she's like, you didn't have to walk all the way up here. Oh my god, Rhaenyra, go to bed. Go rest. And Rhaenyra's like, oh, I hate you so much. Yeah. Kristen Cole's there.
Yep. And somebody else is there. Yes.
Viserys is there.
Yeah.
And he's like, you gave me another grandson. Oh my god. He looks at Laenor and he's like, I think he has your nose.
Whose gosh darn white baby is this?
And this is honestly a stroke of genius by the casting department to cast the Velaryon family as a black family, because it just doubles down on this idea that Rhaenyra is up to some stuff here with these kids. Alicent very coldly tells Laenor, I'm sure, don't worry, keep trying. I'm sure you'll get one that looks like you eventually. Sheesh.
Man, she's so cold. She really develops that. She develops that dog.
Yeah. We got all the kids.
And somebody else is there this whole time. This new guy on the block's in there.
Harwin Strong.
Harwin Strong,
who we've seen briefly. He pulled Rhaenyra from the calamity at the wedding. He's the one who gave her the glance at the hunt when she returned from murdering that boar. It's never explored, but it is implied that Harwin Strong is the father of all three of Rhaenyra's children, Joffrey, Jacaerys, and Lucerys. He seems very happy to see this new child. I would have liked to have seen that relationship develop a little bit more. I think
that could have gotten one more episode out of that, and him being taken away from her could have been a little bit more visceral, in my opinion. But that's probably, it's nitpicking at this point.
Meanwhile, Daemon's also married.
Yeah.
To Corlys Velaryon's daughter.
Yep. The one that was too young for the king. He's not too young for her brother.
And they have two children together, Baela and Rhaena. So he's just been kind of like freelancing, Daemon, essentially.
Yeah. He's like a I don't know, like a hero for hire at this point. He's just like a traveling.
Because the Triarchy's back.
Yes. Yep.
And then Daemon is put in the same position that Viserys is placed in.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because Laena is unable to give birth, and Daemon's like, she's not going to survive this, is she? And they're like, nope. And Daemon does not make a choice.
No.
Because Laena makes it for him.
Yeah. Because you know what I think's going to happen? I think he was going to choose her.
I think he was going to choose her also, because I think he was quite fond of her.
Yeah, and I think that, and he says, like, she says, did you love, I think Rhaenyra asks him later, like, did you love her? And he's like, we were happy, and that's in this line of work we have, and in this lifestyle we live, is that not good enough? You know?
But she's aware of what is about to happen to her. She saw it happen. She saw it happen with Emma as a young girl, and she knows that neither her nor her child are destined to survive. She walks out to Vhagar, who is the current.
That's her dragon at this point.
Yeah, so this is Vhagar. This is one of the other. Balerion was one of Aegon's dragons. Vhagar is another one of Aegon the Conqueror's dragons. So Vhagar is currently the oldest and largest living dragon in Westeros. She's the mega nuke. She's the fat boy on the block. She commands Vhagar to incinerate her, which Vhagar is very reluctant to do.
Dracarys.
She screams it 3 times before Vhagar finally acquiesces and incinerates Laena right in front of Daemon, who just looks as about...
It's probably the saddest you'll ever see him, unless, inevitably something will happen to Rhaenyra at some point in this show, but probably the saddest you'll ever see him, and the saddest you'll ever see him for him is a stone look.
Yeah.
Stone look that speaks volumes.
Yeah, he just kind of walks away, like, watching Laena be incinerated.
Yeah.
And then, meanwhile, back at King's Landing, the kids are all having a time of it.
Yeah.
Kristen Cole's spending way more time with Aegon and Aemond, who are Alicent's children, and kind of ignoring Jacaerys, and Lucerys.
Yeah, he's really tough on them. Like, he's just bullying them, essentially.
Yeah, Harwin Strong is like, hey, why don't you be fair to these kids? And Kristen's like, all right, fine.
Yeah.
Fine. Let them fight each other. Go ahead.
Yep, and they do.
So he puts Aegon up against Jacaerys.
Which is not a fair fight.
Nope, but Jacaerys got that scrappy energy about him.
Yeah, he's the older brother. He's gonna show his little brother what's up.
Yeah, so he gets the best of Aegon, and Kristen gives Aegon a little pep talk. He's like, get in there, fight dirty if you have to, but you have to win. Mm-hmm. Like, Kristen Cole just...
I hate these kids.
Yeah. I hate everything they stand for. Harwin Strong beats Kristen Cole within an inch of his life.
Yep.
And then...
Because
he says... Kristen Cole implies that
he knows
that these are Harwin Strong's kids.
She said somebody would only say that to a cousin or a child or a son, and then he just beats the living daylights out of him.
Viserys witnesses this with his new hand of the king, Lord Lionel Strong. Yep. Lionel comes in to apologize and resign. He's like, I can't give you fair guidance under these circumstances.
Yeah.
I'd like to resign. And Viserys is like, that means you're a good man.
Yeah.
And I actually want you to stay.
Yep.
And Lionel's like, at least let me get rid of my son.
Right, yeah, let me take him back, and then, like...
Because Lionel has it out with Harwin Strong. He's like, dude, like, can you not be so obvious about this?
Right, yeah, yep. He's like, you blew it. You blew our cover, essentially.
And Rhaenyra proposes to Alicent that her son Jacaerys marry Helena. And Alicent's like, thank you, but no.
Yeah.
I politely decline. So Lionel's like, let me take my son back to Harrenhal. I'll deal with this. And Harwin and Rhaenyra have a nice little goodbye. Harwin says, I'll see you soon to the sons. Kiss of death in Game of Thrones.
Yep.
Because here comes Larys Strong, Harwin's younger, sleazier brother.
Yep.
And he pledges allegiance to Alicent Hightower. And Alicent's like, I wish Otto was still Hand of the King. And Larys is like, oh, I can do that for you. And he commissions these criminals, cuts out their tongues, and burns Harrenhal to the ground.
Yep.
Killing his father and his brother.
Man, that scene was tough to watch, like literally watching themselves be incinerated. And it's because even in the little time, the show is still solid in the way that it even made me, even a little bit care about my man. Like, that's still the father of her kids at the end of the day. So watching him die like that is still tough. Like, that's
and like I said, Lord Lionel Strong, by all accounts, was a good man and a good hand of the king to Viserys. And so all the meanwhile, Laenor Velarion's like, I'm not cut out for this, Rhaenyra. I just want to leave. Like, can we just leave? And Rhaenyra's like, no, man, we have to stand strong and firm. And Laenor's like, that's not what sailors do. Sailors, when they see tough waters, they pull back. They live to fight another day. And ultimately, upon Harwin dying and Lionel Strong dying, Rhaenyra realizes she's chock full of allies in King's Landing, and she takes Laenor to Dragonstone. Yep. So she leaves.
We're not even in the dog days of this yet.
No. We fast forward. We fast forward again, 6 years, and we are, this is. Oh no, we don't fast forward yet. We're at Lena's funeral now at Driftmark, and this was essentially a bottle episode.
Yeah,
it takes entirely place on Driftmark. This is the first time Rhaenyra and Daemon reunite, and sparks continue to fly. Yep. Viserys tries to reconcile with Daemon. And then Rhaenyra and Daemon have a walk and talk on the beach where they consummate. Yep. Their relationship. And it's kind of where they kind of realize, like, we should get married, basically. Yep.
We're gonna observe the old Targaryen customs and marry within the family.
Unite our houses. Yep. Unite our sides of the family.
Keep the bloodline pure.
Yep, have pure Targaryen children that no one can dispute the claim for, and that's what we're gonna do. Yep. All the meanwhile, the children up to some.
Yeah, the children are running amok.
So Aemond,
the not idiot son.
Yes, he has been bullied. Yeah. Essentially, because he has not been able to claim his own dragon. Everyone else has one. He does not have one. He's been bullied. So Laena, having been deceased, Vhagar is now riderless.
Yeah, and he pulls a Jake Sully.
Yeah. Why would he ever look up?
Yeah, why would he ever look up? So goes to Vhagar, pleads with her, and
claims her.
and claims her. And boy, when he walks back, it's got to be like one of the most like Big Papa by Biggie like walk ups. Like I just did that. Like I just walked in, claimed the biggest and baddest dragon in the land, and like the girls are screaming at him. He's just like, if you wanted her, you should have claimed her. Yeah, your mom's. He's like, why would you do that? He's like, because your mom's dead. Like that's why I did that.
Yeah, it's real cold, but he's kind of got a point.
Yeah, his Aemon, like young Aemon to older Aemon is like that character's going to be really interesting going forward as like one of like the bigger bads of this.
So there's a scuffle.
There is a scuffle, much like season 1 of Game of Thrones, and it's like the same outcome as that too.
Yeah, child skirmish ensues. Aemon is about to kill Jacaerys with a rock, and young Lucerys steps in. The younger brother steps in and just he's got a knife. Is that a knife?
That's my biggest fear: small knives.
Small knives, and he gets him with that small knife. Cuts his eye out, and all hell breaks loose because obviously the adults need to be alerted now. And man, I love Viserys.
Yeah.
He's like, you let that small child cut your eye out.
He said the same thing that Robert said to Joffrey.
Yeah.
He's like, you let this girl best you in combat?
And Alicent's like, surely like this is ridiculous.
Right, like he has to pay, right? And like you just gotta think younger Alicent would have never in a million years even thought about this, but this Alicent is just so cold.
Yeah, she says, well, he took my son's eye, take his eye.
And Viserys like, is this really my wife right now?
And then she goes, Kristen Cole, bring me that boy's eye.
And Kristen immediately like, yep, I got you.
No, he doesn't.
Oh yeah, he does pause. Yeah.
No, he says no. He stays his hand, and she goes, you're sworn to me. And he goes, as your protector, your grace. So he won't, he may be an incel, but he's an honorable incel. So Alicent's like, all right, fine, she pulls a Thanos. I'll do it myself. She takes Viserys' knife, the cat's paw dagger that like the prophecy is foretold on.
Yep.
She brings it to Rhaenyra. Daemon just puts a great Derrick Henry one-arm stiff arm to Kristen Cole. Like, you're not going anywhere, Chief.
Yep.
Big tense moment between Alicent and Rhaenyra, the culmination of 10 years of,
because she keeps getting closer and closer and closer, and she ends up cutting Rhaenyra.
Because Alicent, maybe rightly so, feels like Rhaenyra is really spitting on the name of the throne. Like, I've sat here as the wife to the king, given him 3 children. Meanwhile, Rhaenyra can't even give you a real heir.
Yeah.
Like, what is happening? Why is everyone taking Rhaenyra's side on this?
Yeah.
Like, she feels like she's being, like, squeezed. You know what I mean? Like, and she cracks.
Yeah, she does.
She finally cracks.
It. Yep. His eye's gone. Aemon's eye is... It's gone now, and eye for an eye, but not tonight.
And then, things start... Alicent, she's like, but... And then I think it's Aemon who says... They're bastards, right?
Yeah. He screams it. He's just.
And Viserys is like, "What did you just say?"
He said, "You better never say that again."
And he's like, "Where did you hear this from, boy?" And you see Viserys like, you don't see Viserys like this often. He got like this with Daemon, where you see like that Targaryen kind of warmonger come out in him. He's like, "Where did you hear this rumor, boy?"
And then I think Aegon steps in. And is just
Aemon blames Aegon. He's like, "I heard it from Aegon." Aegon's like, "Huh?"
Yeah, Aegon's like, "I'm half drunk right now. You guys got to speak up. What's going on?" But Aegon says, and then he says, everybody know down to the last peasant in Westeros, down to the hands. Everybody knows that that's not their kids.
Yeah, and Viserys is like, that's it. Anyone questioning the legitimacy of these children will answer to me, and that's the end of it.
Yep. The end of the episode is actually insane because this is where the show really starts to take up. Like, this is really when it starts to hit its last stride. Is when it's sort of the plot of how we're gonna, because what needs to happen is Laenor needs to die in order for Daemon to kind of be with her. Like, that needs to happen. So there's this plot, and it seems like Rhaenyra just makes a plan to kill Laenor, and it's wild. It's like there's who's waiting there for him? It's
Carl.
Yeah, Carl.
Carl with a Q.
Carl with a Q. It's the same level of craziness that like you have like Duke Leto Atreides and then you got a kid named Paul.
Yeah, they attack Laenor and Carl have a fight.
But yeah, you got to remember that Laenor, as whatever, he still is a warrior at the end of the day. So
And presumably...
Yeah, he's burned to death.
Laenor is killed.
And his mother finds him, and his mother, Rhaenys cracks too, because
she lost another child.
She lost another child. She's lost so much. So much. And... yeah, all these things are happening, like the episode is crescendoing, and I'm like, I think I texted you, I'm like, wow, like this, she really just killed her innocent husband that he also did before that say, I'm here for you now, like, yeah, all that, I'm renouncing like my party boy phase, like all that, like I'm done with that, I'm here, like I realize that these kids need, even if they're not my sons, they are my sons, like they need me, you need me, I'm here for you. And find out at the end of the episode that Rhaenyra is not some tyrant. She's not some mad queen. Yeah,
she and Daemon and Laenor hatched this plan to kill some random guy in a hallway. Mm-hmm. And Laenor cuts all his hair off, absconds with Carl to live his little pirate life with Carl. Good happy ending for Laenor. Yeah. I'm glad someone finally got one in one of these shows.
Yeah.
Daemon and Rhaenyra get married under the old Valyrian kind of marriage
where you drink each other's blood.
Yep. And yeah, they're married.
Yeah. Who's Rhaenyra's husband? In the great words of Tobey Maguire, that's my uncle.
He's not the stepfather, he's the father that stepped up. Daemon Targaryen.
He's also the uncle that stepped up.
Why not both? Bit of both.
BOFF both. Now we are into the penultimate episode.
Not yet.
Are you sure?
Nah, Lord of the Tides.
Oh, yeah, we got to deal with all this crap. I forgot about that.
So Corlys Velarion's been wounded off screen.
Oh, yeah.
And he's dying, so now things are coming to a head, right? So Lucerys Velaryon is the legitimate heir to Driftmark.
Yep.
As appointed by Corlys Velaryon. Yep. So we're doing this again.
Yep.
We're doing the succession thing again. Corlys' brother's not having it. Yeah. So he goes to King's Landing to appeal to Viserys, or... as we find out, Otto Hightower is standing in for Viserys because Viserys has fallen ill and he's unavailable.
Yep. So this is another time jump. So we're getting the time jump, and like you said, this is Paddy Considine saying, "Listen, I may have acted for a while, I may have done some good stuff, but this is me staking my claim as being able to act with the best of them in Hollywood."
Yeah. So everyone descends upon King's Landing to appeal to. Basically, Otto Hightower, and Rhaenyra asks Rhaenys, "Can I count on you to support?" And Rhaenys is like, "I'm going to stake my own claim. I'm going to do, my husband. I'm speaking for my husband at this point, so no, right. I'm going to do my own thing." Rhaenyra and Daemon visit Viserys, who is just in awful shape.
Yeah, awful shape. Yeah,
his face is gauzed up on half of his face. He can't really recognize who he's speaking to because he's on the milk of the poppy the entire time. Just. Yeah,
it's gone. Meanwhile, Aegon just sucks.
He's the worst.
I gotta respect it a little bit because he doesn't even pretend to want this. Like he says multiple times, "I don't care about all this other stuff. Can I just drink and be with women all day? Like, is that too much to ask for?" And Alicent's like, "Yeah, you idiot. You're the successor to this whole thing.
And if you don't, wisen up, you're gonna be dead.
Yeah, somebody's gonna pick you off because you're not understanding the bigger picture in all this."
Yeah, so everyone's kind of like talking. Everyone, Rhaenyra introduces Viserys to her children by Daemon. So Aegon the third and Viserys the second.
Yep.
And Viserys is like, "Did you say Aegon?"
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Yeah.
The prophecy's back,
baby. The prophecy's back. I love prophecies.
My prophesied son has returned.
Yes.
So we get to the throne room. Otto's there, and he's like, "Everyone talk to me. Stake your case." Rhaenyra makes a pretty weak case.
Yeah, it's not great. Not great at all.
Rhaenys makes a case for Lucerys.
Right.
But not before... So it's looking slow because Vaemond is there, and he's like, "I'm going to do this." And Otto's like, "We should have an adult in Driftmark. Like, that should be a thing." And he is Corlys's brother. And then the doors of the throne room open. My man pipes up, "King Viserys of House Targaryen, blah, 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 blah." You've seen Game of Thrones.
Yep.
You know how this works. And just a beautiful scene of Viserys walking through the throne room. People just looking, the scene is so incredible.
"I will sit the throne today."
Everyone's looking at him, and Otto, he abdicates. He gives Viserys okay, you're sitting the throne. He goes to walk up the stairs. The crown falls off his head, and wouldn't you know it, who's there to pick it up for him? His brother.
His brother still got his back, man.
His brother's... Oh, it's in that moment that Viserys realizes his brother's always been loyal to him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, regardless of all the political nonsense, his brother's always loved him. And just he hands him the crown, he goes, come on. And he helps him up, puts the crown on Viserys' head. And Viserys is like, why am I here?
We dealt with this years ago.
So he's like, whatever, everyone talk, I don't care.
Yeah.
So Rhaenys is like, my husband wished for Lucerys to be the heir to Driftmark. And Viserys is like, I know.
Yeah. I was there when the scribes were written.
I know, why are we still litigating? And then Vaemond pipes up.
Vaemond.
And he's like, I will not have it. And Viserys is like, huh? You what? And he's like, that is no true heir. Yeah. That is no true Velaryon.
Yeah, he's like, I'm trying to preserve my bloodline, and look at these children are no Valerians.
He's like, you can rule your house as you see fit, but I will not let you be the end of mine. Viserys is like, watch your mouth, buddy.
Yeah.
He's like, at the end, you are still just the second son of Driftmark. Like, you have no standing.
Mm-hmm.
Great move by Viserys.
Yeah.
And Aemond is like, these children are bastards! And it just echoes through the halls.
There's gasps in there. Like, it's great.
And then my man Vaemond doubles down.
Yep.
He's like, and she, is a whore. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Viserys pipes up again, that Targaryen kind of warmonger in him. Even in his weakened state, he pulls out his knife and he's like, I will have your tongue for that. And then, shink.
Daemon Targaryen beheads this man, cuts his head in half, and then the King's Guard's just like, remove his weapon. He said, no need.
He can keep his tongue. Oh man, and that's it. Another Velaryon has been killed in this conflict.
Yep.
You know, Princess Rhaenys is kind of at her wit's end with all these family members that she keeps losing. And he's like, that's it. And Viserys is like, I know I'm kind of on my last legs here. Can we just have a nice family dinner, please? Just one. And guess what? It is a nice family dinner.
Yeah.
Like
it's literally that. This might be my favorite scene in this entire show, man, because it sums up who King Viserys is to a T.
It truly feels like, you know, everyone does kind of reconcile. Alicent and Rhaenyra reconcile. They're like, I'm sorry for everything. Like, this sucked.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hating you for all this time. Like, can we just get along? Like, maybe I will consider like marrying our kids together. And man, Viserys takes off his mask and shows just the horrific side of his face. He's like, I want you all to see me as I am. You know, no more charades or any of that. Like, this is what this is.
Man.
And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful
so
scene.
Beautiful. They cut they mute the music a little bit.
People are smiling.
Dancing. The sons are like, you know, they're, you know, joking around with each other for a little bit. It's everything they fought for. It was one fleeting moment of peace. That's all in the X amount of years that this man was king that he ever wanted, was just a little moment of peace, and he finally got it with his entire family.
He's weakened. He goes to bed before the feast is over, and then Aemond, who can't mind his business, who now has an eye patch and long hair.
and the yesification lips.
Yep, and he's like, to my nephews, 3 strong boys.
What did you say? What did he say?
Jacaerys pipes up, because Jacaerys is like the aggressive oldest son.
He's the older brother.
And they have a little scuffle, which Daemon breaks up. Daemon and Aemond share like a look at each other, like, we're gonna be rivals in the future, aren't we? Yeah. And then Viserys is on his deathbed. You know, Alicent's made aware that like the king has fallen very, very ill. Mm-hmm. She visits him. He thinks it's Rhaenyra.
Yeah. And again, that plays on to, I believe it was the Driftmark episode where he said, I'm going to bed, Aemon. Just all the things that she fought for and to preserve her marriage and to be, you know, the rightful queen and be a good queen. is you learn that his first and true love is Aemma, and that's who he sees when he can't see.
Yeah,
and same thing with Alicent to Rhaenyra. Like, that's the daughter that he does love her at the end of the day.
So he mentions Aegon's prophecy, which Alicent have never heard.
No.
Alicent's never been made aware of Aegon's prophecy, and he says, like, Aegon will be the one to conquer the Song of Ice and Fire. Like, he'll fulfill it. And she's like, our son Aegon? And he's like, and she's like,
Croak, see, this is Shrek.
And she's like, yes, that's what you definitely said. My son Aegon.
The bumbling idiot that drinks all day.
And then, camera kind of stays with Viserys. It's very dark. There's no music. And he just whispers, my love, kind of talking to Aemma like he's going into the afterlife, essentially. And then he dies. Viserys dies. And just...
Yeah, Paddy, my man.
Just caps an incredible episode by Paddy Considine that potentially could win him an Emmy.
Yeah,
I think.
This happens, and so falls the House of Wayne as we're per se.
Yeah, because this is essentially what the whole season's been leading up to, is the death of Viserys and what happens.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it leads into war. It's the one thing that it's funny because I'm saying all these things about he needs to be tougher, you need to be tough to be a king, but he truthfully was the last thread of peace that lived in that land.
Yeah, and he even questions, like, what is my legacy? Like, I didn't do anything for 9 years.
Yep.
And people were like, some might say that's a good thing.
Yeah.
There
was no war, there was battles at the Stepstones, but there was no true...
Freaking Stepstones.
The crab feeder. Man.
The crab feeder, just straight out of a comic book, this guy was just killing people with crabs.
Yeah.
Wore a creepy mask.
Yep.
Oh, man, the crab feeder. So, yeah, we get to the penultimate episode. You've come to find out Otto Hightower and company have been plotting for this.
They what?
They've been plotting for this very moment. They're like, well, Viserys is dead. And freaking Jason Lannister rolls in.
Yeah, I know, right?
This better be good. For this small council meeting to be happening right now, the king better be dead or something. And they're like,
the king is dead. And he's like, ooh, my bad. My bad.
He's like, all right, fine. And Otto's like, we absolutely cannot let this get out that Viserys is dead. And Alicent's like, you guys have been doing this behind my back this entire time? And Otto's like, yeah. It's not even behind your back, Alicent. This is what this whole thing has been for. This is what the House of the Dragon's about. And yeah, my man Lord Beesbury is like, I will not have it. This is treason. Rhaenyra is the rightful heir. Criston Cole cracks his head on the table, kills him.
Yeah, and it's crazy because they make him stay there because whoever the new maester is just like, all right, let's remove his body, and he's like, nope, we're gonna figure this out. That nobody leaves this room until we figure out who the true king or queen is.
It's Aegon.
It's Aegon because boys,
and we can't find Aegon.
He's missing. Aegon's just like, no, I'm good. I don't want any of this.
So we get two kind of rival factions.
Yep.
Otto Hightower sends for the.
It turns very like action adventure-esque.
Yeah. So. Otto sends for the Cargills, Eric and Eric.
A-R-Y and E-R-R-Y, man.
They do the little bait and switch. Is like, Eric. And he's like, it's Eric, your grace. And he's like, I'm going to strangle you. And then Alicent sends her noble steed, Criston Cole, and Aemond to find Aegon. Because Aemond's like, I know where my stupid little brother is.
Mm-hmm. Or older brother. Unfortunate.
Yeah. And then they can't find him, as it turns out, but Otto finds him by means of the White Worm, who we find out is Mysaria, Daemon's wife. Mm-hmm. She tells she's had Aegon this entire time because power,
which didn't really pay off for anything.
No. Yeah. So they find Aegon. The Cargills find Aegon, but then when you know it, Criston and Aemond rock up as well. There's a scuffle. Mm-hmm. One of the Erics stays out of it.
Yep. The other Eric is just like, I'm about this action.
Aemond grabs Aegon, and Aegon's like, I don't even want to be king. Like, leave me alone. Mm-hmm. You should be king. And Aemon's like, yeah,
I know.
But I can't be.
Because you just had to be born first, you little idiot.
Yeah. And then, so they take him away. They take him back to Alicent. Meanwhile, creepy little Larys Strong is like, don't you want to know how your dad knew where Aegon was? Mm-hmm. And Alicent's like, not really. Like, my dad wouldn't betray me. And he's like, Mm-hmm. I know where he gets the secrets.
Yeah, but you got to give me something.
Oh,
man, Tarantino's it.
Just
I just wasn't expecting that. It was just so out of left field.
It's a scene that made the internet uncomfortable for like a week. This foot scene with Alicent and Larys, and it's as creepy as it is. It's such a emblematic moment of Alicent. Like, she's the queen of the Seven Kingdoms, and she's reduced to this.
Yeah,
like it's really kind of heartbreaking.
Yeah. From her first time being, introduced to the king to her last time seeing him to even in his death, she's a pawn. She's a puppet. As much as she wants this power that she so ever coveted, especially when Olivia Cook took over as Alicent, she still can't get it.
No.
She can't get it.
Nope. And she's reduced to this by Larys Strong.
Some guy with a cane that has no physical power.
Right. It's awful. Feel awful for her. And so Alicent talks with Rhaenys, who's still in King's Landing, and she's like, just swear fealty to Aegon and you can go home.
Yeah.
And Rhaenys is like, I'll think about it. But here's some wisdom. You suck.
Yeah.
And you're being used by your father, by every man who's ever been in your life, is just using you.
Yeah.
And then Alicent pipes up to her dad.
Yep.
And she's like, I'm sick of being a pawn. Like, from the day Emma died, you've been scheming and using me to get to the throne.
Yep.
And Otto's like, yeah. Like, and you needed that because look at the woman you've become now. And Alicent's like, don't I get a say in this? And Otto's like, not really.
Yeah.
That's not how this works. So, we getting Aegon on that throne? And we are. So
who decided to put the dragon bus station right below that? Because the end of episode 9 was so
they're going to
phenomenal.
have this coronation in the dragon pit because we're crowning a true Targaryen king.
Yep.
And they give him Aegon the Conqueror's crown. They give him Aegon the Conqueror's sword. Obviously, he already has Aegon's name.
Yep.
So we're going to do this in the dragon pit, a proper Targaryen coronation. Look how cool this is.
The trumpets are here.
The trumpets are here. They bring all the civilians in who couldn't care less about any of this.
Yeah.
Eric tries to get Rhaenys out of King's Landing, but they get swept up in the crowd.
Right. Yep.
And there's this pomp and circumstance coronation for Aegon. The people are very
confused. Yeah, because I believe they think that
Rhaenyra is going to be the queen.
And now they're like, we got a new queen, okay, or a new king. Fine.
So, and then they applaud because they're idiot peasants.
Yep.
And then Helena said it early in the episode, beware the beast beneath the floorboards. And here comes Rhaenys.
Crashes the
busting
definition
through the floor.
Of crashing through this party.
Busting through the floor atop her dragon, Malise, the Red Queen, as she's called, in her full Targaryen battle armor. And she has a stare down with the Green Council, essentially.
Yep.
And she leaves.
Yep. Just a show of force.
And she's like, you know what this means.
Yep. And what an absolute bang to end that episode. And what brings us to an absolutely phenomenal season finale of an already great show. And it's so tough to stick the landing, but boy did they. Yep.
So we got the Green Council in episode 9. So now we spend some time with the Blacks on episode 10.
What?
Chill out. Come on, man. So we're back with Rhaenyra and Daemon and company. They're basically getting ready for all this stuff. Rhaenys arrives at Dragonstone. She's like, your dad's dead. And I got some more bad news. They already crowned Aegon. And Rhaenyra's like, she goes into labor over the loss of her father, and she's being usurped. She's pregnant again, so she goes into labor, and they had to get one more horrifying birthing scene into this show. This baby dies,
and it's so, you know why it's so sad. And it's sad, but it's also poetic because it's a daughter, too. She's had sons. This show's been so focused on having sons, and the one daughter she gets dies. The one that could have been like her. The one that could have broke this mold of a son needing to succeed a son.
Meanwhile, Daemon's planning for a war?
Yeah.
Because he's
a warrior at the end of the day. That's what he is.
And he knows where this is going. He knows there's not going to be any diplomacy. They've been planning this from the very beginning. From the day Emma died, they've been planning for this. So Daemon knows it's only going to go one way. And, he doesn't ignore Rhaenyra, but he's like, someone needs to focus the hell up here and get ready for this thing. You know, and then, you know, Rhaenyra loses her daughter. And
yeah, that scene is incredible, too, because just the quick cuts to her dragon, too, and this connection they really are like, there is just this otherworldly connection that they have, and it's like, her dragon, I don't even know how to interpret this, just kind of the loss of her daughter, but her seeing this dragon, they do have the hearts of dragons and the bloods of dragons in them, so...
Yeah.
So we divulge into...
Eric shows up.
Yeah, and the true coronation begins, and I love it because it's not as many people, but these people, they swear fealty to her. These are the true believers and the true queen of Westeros.
She has her father's crown.
Mm-hmm. Not the crown of Aegon passed down from generations. She has the true crown. This is hers to be taken. It's such a beautiful scene.
Yeah, she wears it incredibly well. She presents herself very regally, very royally, much like a queen, you know, and it's really great. And then, wouldn't you know it, they're like, a ship's coming from King's Landing bearing the green and gold, bearing the Targaryen sigil draped in green and gold colors. So they've already bastardized the sigil of House Targaryen, which is predominantly red and black,
right.
And they've adorned it in green and gold, and I told you about this bridge. Otto's back at the bridge, and he's like, Queen Alicent extends her terms for you, basically swearing loyalty to Aegon. And Daemon Targaryen, again, had to get one last bar off before the season ends. Otto basically says, you can have Dragonstone, you can have whatever else you were promised. Lucerys can still be the heir to Driftmark. It's fine, but... your other sons can be cupbearers and shield carriers for Aegon.
Snaps.
Daemon goes, I would rather feed my children to the dragons than let my sons carry the swords and shields for your drunken usurper C-word of a king. And, you know, and then Rhaenyra, as the queen, does not let Daemon do her talking for her. No. She walks up to Otto. Otto gives her a page of a book that Rhaenyra had given Alicent.
Yeah, that she ripped out all those years ago. Yep.
And he goes, the queen still remembers, you know, what your friendship once meant. And Rhaenyra goes back and she's like, shoot, maybe I should sue for peace here. Like, that's what my dad would have done. Yep. Like, you know, maybe we have to decide what's not best for us, but what's good for the Seven Kingdoms.
Right.
That's ultimately what a queen or a king does.
This is the first example of, like, I'm thinking of the bigger, what's more important, and now the true queen looks out for her subjects and her people.
And Daemon just straight up grabs her by the throat, and he's like, I'm so freaking sick of these prophecies and all this nonsense other than what's being presented to us. And then that's when Rhaenyra goes, he never told you about Aegon's prophecy, did he?
He's like, ooh.
Basically implying, like, Viserys never saw Daemon as a true heir.
Nope.
You know, because that's a story that's only passed from king to heir to, you know, and so on. So he never saw Daemon as a true heir. And Daemon's like, all right, well, whatever, bro. We have to go to war.
Yep.
So I'm going to start planning for a war.
Yeah, that strategizing scene is incredible too, where they're kind of thinking about what's going to go on. Like, this feels so much of this feels like a finale. It's really I commend them for kind of how they crafted this episode and the structure and pacing of how
Corlys
they go about
is back.
it. Yeah, Corlys is back. Can kill me.
Yeah,
can't kill me.
Him and Rhaenys have a scene together where, like, Corlys is like, we're going to Switzerland this. We're going to stay neutral. And Rhaenys is like, not an option.
Too late for that.
He's like, have you seen what they've done? Like, they're betraying oaths. They're betraying our families. They're betraying the Targaryen family and the Velaryon family, even though we've lost so much because of this freaking family drama. Like, we kind of owe it to Rhaenyra to be loyal to her, you know? And Corlys walks in as the king of Driftmark. The sea snake walks in and he's like, you have my navy.
Yep. And she needs it. And so basically this
and he won the Stepstones.
Yeah, he won the Stepstones. So this whole finale, the second half kind of divulges in we're drawing lines now. We're going to need allies if we're going to fight this war. I can't go into this because at the end of the day, that is the crown and that is Aegon on the back of Viserys with Alicent. Like, they have a lot of power and people with them. We need to go gain... Guess where we gotta go? We gotta go to the Baratheons. We need to... The Lannisters are never gonna help us, but we're gonna go... All these callbacks...
They focus on three families.
Yep.
So they focus on the Aarons because Rhaenyra's mother was an Aaron, so she's like, that's easy.
Yep.
Like, they'll be fine. The Baratheons we have to go to, we'll go to Boros Baratheon because his father originally swore loyalty to me when I was named the heir. And then we'll go to the Starks of Winterfell because
they're noble.
They're noble. They never break their oaths.
Yep.
So we'll go up there. We'll send a. I believe they want to send a.
Right.
A raven.
They say they want to send a raven. They're just like the kids have to do this. Like they are the heirs to this.
And then it's Jacaerys who pipes up and is like, "No, we should go on Dragonback because it shows."
We're the one people that have these dragons. We need to show them why we're so powerful.
Because Daemon makes the remark like they have the man advantage, but we have the dragon advantage.
Yeah, we have
more dragons. We have Caraxes. We have Melees.
We have 13 to their 4, and we have more eggs than they do.
Yeah, we have Cyrax, and then we have riderless dragons like Vermithor, who's not claimed.
Right, but I mean, I think somebody makes the point, but they have Vhagar. Like, they still have the mother of these dragons. They still have her, but they still outnumber them. So they're off, and then we're into the last part of this finale.
So Jacaerys is gonna go to. He's going to go to the Riverlands to visit the Arryns, and then he's going to fly north to Winterfell to the Starks. And then Lucerys, because Storm's End is closer, is tasked with going to the Baratheons.
Yeah, I love his little arc that he gets. He gets very much of like that kid that needs to turn into a man arc, and it's so incredible how they go about it because I love the rapport that she has. It's a really nice relationship that they have because he's got the main character energy out of the sons because truthfully I think that she sees a lot of, her insecurities in him, but also what he could become. Like, he can become the best of what all of the people that came before him. Like, if she is the queen now, like, he will be, like, I know Jacaerys is there, but Luke is the one I can really mold into this great king.
It's such a contrast to how Alicent is with her children.
She hates Aegon, and Aemond is turning into like this warmonger essentially, while Jacaerys is like the noble knight that's the side, but Lucerys could turn into this king one day that can be this great king. Like I feel like she feels that in him, and I mean she realizes at this moment like her sons aren't her sons anymore. No, they're soldiers. They're soldiers. Yep. Man, that scene with Daemon where he's singing and he's... to Vermithor, yeah. So he's trying to ease Vermithor, who's one of the unclaimed dragons, and Vermithor was King Jaehaerys' dragon, so Viserys' grandfather, the king before, that is Vermithor. So it's so cool because like it's just the way they frame it and the lighting, because then it's like only the flame is what reveals him at the end. Oh, it's so good. Vermithor's a big lad. Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. So yeah, we're off. We're going to these different kingdoms, but guess what? The Alicent and those Targaryens already know that they need to do this too. So Aemon beat him. Aemon beat Luke to the punch. Yeah, Lucerys and his young dragon Eryx shows up at Storm's End, and when out in the distance, Lucerys catches Vhagar parked outside. Yeah, I just love these. Storm's End. I love the sublet of them being like nuclear bombs, but also being just cars. So Vhagar is parked outside. He knows Aemond is there, and Aemond is there, and he's like, my nephew. Yeah. Hello. Look at this. Look at us. Look at us. Reunited. Yeah. And Boris Baratheon is pulling from the script notes from season 1 of Game of Thrones, like, don't care about none of this. Like, who's the king? Did somebody tell me who the king is? He got here first. He pulls exactly what Robert did in the scene with the kids in season 1 of Game of Thrones. Who got here first? I don't care about none of this. He got here first. He's proposing marriages. Yeah. He's got a strategy. Yeah, what did you come? You came here empty-handed, kid. Lucerys is like, well, I got a note from my mom. My mom said it's my turn to play the Xbox. So yeah, he's like, but my mom said that your dad swore an oath to her, and he's like, get out of here, kid. Get out. Yeah, give me that note that I can't read. I can't read because I'm stupid, and I'll see you out. But Aemon he can't. Child grudge. It's a childhood grudge. He can't stop. He's just like, what's up? What's up, Neff? How you doing? Remember this? Yeah, pulls up his eye patch. He's got a sweet looking sapphire gem in his eye. Pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Not gonna lie, this guy's gonna be Halloween characters for a little bit. It's pretty cool. It's very cool. He's great villain origin story type. And he's like, look, let's settle this. Give me your eye. Mm-hmm. I'm not even gonna take it. Here's a knife. Take your eye out for me. Okay? If you don't, I'm gonna have to kill you. It's implied. Yep. And Boris Baratheon's like, whoa, yeah, whoa. No, but there's gotta be no bloodshed in my palace. He's like this. Well, he makes an important point. He's like, this boy came as an envoy. Yep. Like, don't
you can't fight him or kill him. Like, we're all neutral right now. Yeah. Like, there's not going to be any combat here. And then, so Eric, he's like, escort Lucerys to his dragon so he can go.
And then Lucerys gets out there and Vhagar's gone. So he's like, okay, I'm going to go back to Mom with the bad news. She might ground me for a week, but it's fine. And then he takes to the skies, and the frame that everybody was talking about happens, and he's riding on Eric's, and boom, just drops out of the sky, Vhagar, down to, and he's just toying with him this whole time. Toying with him. And then Luke, he finally comes into his own. He's laying attacks. The young rider and the young dragon are laying hits on the uncompromisable Vhagar. It's pretty cool. He's a little nervous at some point, but
he descends into the canyon.
Right, he descends
where Vhagar can't go.
Right, and because she's too big, and comes out, and Aemon kind of starting to lose control of Vhagar, because you made an incredible point. Vhagar only knows one thing, and she's known one thing since she was...
For hundreds of years.
That's war. That's killing. Anything you're the baddest thing in the sky. There's no contention for me. And Aemon is he's still a kid. He's still holding on to that grudge from his childhood. He's toying with him until the right moment where he can take he just wants an eye for an eye. Unfortunately, he overstepped his boundaries. He loses control of Vhagar.
And Luke also loses control of Eric's.
Yeah, who is, riding a high of, like, we can do this. I can try to take Vhagar out, Man.
Breathes fire.
Into
Vhagar, and Vhagar snaps into war.
Predator mode.
Preservation mode. Eric's, Luke breaks through the clouds with Eric's, and you think, like, oh, he got away. And then... Jaws style, Vhagar comes in, rips Eric's in half, Luke along with him. Eric's carcass falls from the sky. Aemon is...
That look that Aemon gives is so... It literally paints it's such an interesting way to paint the scene, because you think it would happen with this... It was a big bang, but you think the last frame would be a big bang of a finale, but it's just the understanding of why this story was so incredible, and because it's through their characters, like... His look told me everything about what came before in the season and what's going to happen in the next season.
He's visibly shaken by this occurrence, not just in that he's a kinslayer now. Mm-hmm. He's killed his nephew. He's ostensibly fired the first shot in this war. But also realizes he doesn't have as much control as he thought. It's
really allegorical in that sense that he doesn't have as much control of Vhagar, but he's not the firstborn, he's the second. He doesn't have control over these things. So I think his arc is going to divulge into that of like this warrior. You know what I wouldn't be surprised of? I wouldn't be surprised if Aemon tries to go on a redemption arc a little bit and try to, maybe do something along the lines of like, going back to them at some point and being like, I didn't want to kill my nephew. Like, sure, he took my eye. Sure, I was pissed this whole time, but I was a child. Like, I didn't really want to kill him. But... And
it's such a great contrast between what happened with Luke and Aemon versus the command that, it's in that scene where, yes, Luke died and it's tragic, but you also see that Daemon's right.
Yeah.
About them. Because look at the control that Daemon has over Caraxes versus Aemon and Vhagar. Like, if they got into it, my money would probably be on Daemon and Caraxes, just because those two seem like they're in sync and they're bonded. Whereas, like, Vhagar is just kind of taking Aemon along for the ride. Like, we're in a war, I'm ready to roll. And you can come, you can not come, And and then we get to Rhaenyra in the room, like the war room. Daemon walks in and you know what the news is that he's bringing. And that's the death of Rhaenyra's son, Lucerys. And she turns, she has that Targaryen warmonger look about her, like it's on. And that's the last shot of the season is Rhaenyra's scowl. And that can only mean one thing. Like, the one thing she tried to avoid, the one thing Viserys lived and died to avoid was an all-out, basically, war of the Seven Kingdoms, which is about to happen and desecrate the land, that Viserys fought decades for to keep peaceful. And, what
a way to end a season. It's emotional, there's weight, there's stakes, it's everything you want out of a season finale.
When you realize that this first season was just all about character building and setting the table for what next season is going to bring, it's brilliant.
Right. Because if you kill Jace in the season finale, it happens, and it's something of weight, but it's the wherewithal and the mindfulness from the writers to be like, look, we got to set this up as we know that he's not as strong as his older brother, he's not as strong as the other Targaryen children from Alicent and Viserys, but he can get there, he can get to all these things. Like, I'm going to mold him into this powerful kid. I see it in him, and she spends the time, like a great point you made. They are the perfect counter to what Alicent does. Like, there's many times where Alicent, like, I hate you, like, she says it like, I can't believe you're my, like, these are my children.
Aegon has to question whether or not she loves him.
Yeah. And what she said, you idiot. So, man, what a way, because she loves him in the way that a mother has the contract, the non-contract you have to sign, versus Rhaenyra really loved her kids. She really does. And she really loved Luke, and man, Luke turned into a Moider in that episode, and that's going to be the through line, I think, in season 2. Wow. Mm-hmm. What a show, man.
It's incredible. Like I said, performances across the board. Patty Considine, I think, turned out to be the standout to me. It was Matt Smith for the longest time. Mm-hmm. But that 8th episode where Viserys kind of, you see Viserys' whole character arc kind of come together in that 8th episode where he passes away, and it's just brilliant. I love all these characters. I love how they're all written. They all feel very real, very human. You know, Larys Strong aside, he's a bit of a psychopath, right? But the main cast of characters, you know, you can kind of see everyone's points of view. Mm-hmm. You know, like I said, Alicent takes up that kind of Ned Stark approach to this whole situation. Like, they're not real Targaryen kids,
right? It's like it divulges from Ned Stark into like Cersei Lannister. Oh, that's kind of where she goes. She goes into like this realm of like nobility, and then she gets radicalized essentially from having to see what she's seen.
Yeah,
because she's seen as a bearer. That was the only thing that she was seen as to some of them.
And then Rhaenyra too. Like, she wanted to be a warrior. Then she fell in love with being a mother. Mm-hmm. And you know, the idea of being the queen. Yeah, it appealed to her, but it's ultimately not what she ended up wanting to really do. Right. And then until she wanted to do it, mm-hmm. and then
she was forced to do it. That last frame forces her hand to do it. The thing that again she tried to. It's the thing, you can't run away from it. She had it in her blood from the beginning. Yeah.
And, you know, like I said, it's the thing that her father fought for. It's the thing that she initially wanted to preserve, was the peace. And now her son has been murdered, and now it's the point of no return. Mm-hmm. Like, there's no reconciling this.
And I can't wait to see where these characters go.
Yeah, and that's what you realize, like, from episode 1, the friendship between Alicent and Rhaenyra.
Deteriorating at a commensurate rate.
Yeah, and it's now come to this point of no return where there's no more talking. Nope. Like, that's it. Just really great. Yeah. I couldn't be happier with how this show turned out with my initial reservations. So definitely looking forward to what next season brings probably in 2024.
Yep, I believe so. So we've got a lot of great TV and movies coming out. So make sure you're watching anything. Don't be a jerk. Don't overhate just to overhate. Just take these stories for what is and kind of grow with them.
Yeah.
Man. Thrones. What you been up to, man?
Just plugging away. Still watching Yellowstone. Still really enjoying it. There was another thing, but I can't remember what it was right now. So I'm not gonna mention it because I can't remember what it was. But yeah, just been doing that. The Witcher's being remade. Mm-hmm. The game, The Witcher, being remade full from the ground up. So that's fun. God of War next week. Mm-hmm. Can't wait.
You can't wait. Yep. I'm gonna probably literally as soon as I step in front of my PlayStation, it's gonna take all of my willpower to not play more of The Last of Us and to play God of War, but I'm on a mission.
Yeah. What about you? What have you been up to?
So in this Game of Thrones, I've finally finished season 2 of Game of Thrones. That's not even the thing I want to talk about, but yes, I finished season 2 of Game of Thrones. It's awesome. Tyrion Lannister is now battle scarred, so he's a real one now. But again, this show, it's just this kind of. It was so crazy because I looked back at where I was in Game of Thrones and I was like, oh, I'm at the season finale of season 2, so this is kind of cool because I just finished the House of the Dragon. And just to see like the things that have gone back and forth and what they take from those shows and the inspiration they take to kind of enhance this story that takes place in the past, but how you kind of further the entire story of what Westeros is. So So in all of this stuff, I was like, I need to watch a film because that's the thing I love. So everybody loves Ethan Hawke. So I watched this beautiful little movie called Before Sunrise. 1995, Richard Linklater. Absolutely, probably one of my favorite romantic movies I have ever seen. It is basically these two young people are on a train in Europe, and she goes and she sits next to Ethan Hawke, and they start talking, and then Ethan Hawke's just like, let's get off this train and let's just walk throughout. I think they're in Vienna. Let's just walk throughout Vienna and explore our feelings. And they fall in love in a day. And it's one of the most revered trilogies of all time, the Before trilogy. I've seen the first piece of it, and it's incredible. It's emotional. They feel so real, which is something that's just unheard of. And especially in the romance genre, they feel real. I love the way they present it, because instead of it being like this audition that you have in terms of liking somebody, it's more of this like they try to get at each other's ideologies of the world and see if they can fit in with each other in that aspect. And I think it's just so interesting, their outlooks on the world, how they differ, how they're the same, and kind of how, love is this fleeting thing, but if you can get it, you need to grab it while you have it, even if it's for one day.
Wow. What a way to end.
What a review.
What a review. I love that. Good. So do that. Check all that stuff out. Mm-hmm. Check out Game of Thrones.
Check out Game of Thrones.
Check out House of the Dragon.
Check out Hot D. We got to come up with a new acronym,
but until then, you can follow us on Twitter at ProjectINF_pod. You can follow us on Facebook. New episodes posted there weekly, almost every Wednesday except for this week.
Yep.
You can follow us on Instagram
at the Project Infinite Pod.
Thank you very much. Next week we are going to get into full Black Panther mode as we do a film retrospective and legacy on the first Black Panther film. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of Chadwick Boseman talk.
Yeah. My divulgence is just talking about Chadwick Boseman's legacy on the world of film and how much he meant to everybody. It's so rare. Like, people pass away, actors pass away, but it just is a testament to how much of an influence that he had, that it shook the world that much.
Yeah.
So he's literally, in my opinion, he's like ingrained into what movies are. He really left a stamp and a legacy, and I have not watched Black Panther since he passed away, and that movie was one of my favorite movies. It came out in 2018, and I have not watched that movie in 4 years. So I can't wait to rewatch that movie and kind of see what really, because that movie ignited the accelerating train to get to the end of the Infinity Saga. That movie shook what Marvel was, and kind of really, they used it as a backdrop in their biggest movie. Like, it's just insane that's how much of a cultural impact that movie had.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Probably it's going to be talking about the movie, obviously, but more so it's going to be talking about the legacy of not just Chadwick Boseman, but the real superstar making performance by Ryan Coogler behind the camera. It's going to be about the cultural impact that this movie had, particularly on Black culture. Yep. Like, this movie was a celebration of Black culture, essentially, and you felt it reverberate through all walks of media, from the sports world to the music world. You couldn't get through a day without seeing some type of homage to this film, and just Chadwick being embraced by so many people. Yep. And I'm looking forward to revisiting that movie and revisiting all those feelings from 2018 after that movie came out, leading up to its Oscar nomination and all that stuff. So yeah, and then we'll obviously talk a little before Wakanda Forever also. So next week's going to be a big week.
Next 2 weeks are huge. Next 2 weeks are huge. Next 3 weeks are huge.
Yeah.
Because then we're going to follow that up with God of War.
Yeah, God of War Ragnarok. And
Fat Thor's back.
Fat Thor is back. And he's mad.
Yeah, he is mad. He's real mad. Killed my brother, man. Gotta
chill. But until then, from me, from the...
Careful.
From the Lusaris Valarian of the podcast.
I die? Man. But at least I went out like a G.
It's Game of Thrones, man. You slim pickings.
Yeah. Unless you're Jon Snow.
I didn't want to go Viserys. You're not quite world weary enough to be Viserys.
Yeah.
Everyone else kind of sucks.
Yeah. It couldn't be Daemon because of the incest.
Yep. Daemon. You can't be Otto.
Yeah. Why couldn't I be Corlys?
Careful.
I'll take Lucerys. He died an honorable death, and at the end, even though maybe he didn't overcome his fear, but he faced it head on, and I love that to the end of the day.
Yeah, we gotta go, man.
All
right, guys, we'll see you next week for Black Panther. Goodbye.
Peace.